Good evening, everybody in Chiefs Kingdom. Welcome to the Chiefs Digest live Q&A with myself, Matt Derrick. Coming by a little bit later will be our good friend Nick Jacobs, as always. Think the microphone is set correctly and the invite is set to Nick. So hopefully we'll have a nice, smooth evening. And Brian, hey, always gets whenever he says to remind people to hit the like button. I always give Brian the heads up and the pop up there. So you guys have a lot of questions already tonight. So don't know if I'll have too much of a monologue, because I think probably most of the questions that I would have any monologue comments on, you will probably ask this evening about rookie minicamp, the draft picks, undrafted free agents, and some of the minicamp players that invites the tryout players who are going to be sticking around. We'll just say, just kind of echoing a few of the thoughts that maybe we touched on 41 is the mic. I thought it was a really good mini camp across the board. Sometimes these can be painful to watch, but football can be a little rough when you got a lot of players who are running things that they haven't seen before, doing things they haven't done before. Even getting into huddles and listening to play calls from a quarterback or a middle linebacker. Not used to doing that, but I thought it was really good football. I thought the draft class looked really good, pretty impressive. Josh Simmons is still undecided, but I think you had to be happy with the work that a little bit of work he was at least able to get in during the minicamp weekend. I don't think any of the draft picks looked lost or confused. The undrafted free agent class that the Chiefs signed, I thought looked really impressive. There's a lot to like, and there was a couple of minicamp players, a couple of the Chiefs have already signed. I think a couple more that, unless they get a better offer somewhere, remember, some teams will be having their minicamp this coming weekend, so there might be some players that the Chiefs had some interest in, that maybe want to go to another team, see what their chances there might be. Probably a couple of players that the Chiefs also just want to see what they've got before they sign them. Remember, Chiefs are getting their veterans into the building this week for really the first time this offseason. Phase 1 was all done virtually. This is the first week, part of phase 2, that the team is getting into the building. Everybody's back, having meetings, workouts on the field, all of that. Still no team activities. That won't be until phase 3, about 3 weeks from now, when the end part of May, beginning of June, when we get into OTAs. So a little bit more time before you get to see the full team on the field and offense versus defense, but that will be coming up. But like I said, I think there's a couple of players that the Chiefs did like from the tryout group, but they want to see what they have with some of the veterans that they signed during the offseason, or even some players coming back from last year that they never really got to see during extended workouts. Players I don't necessarily think that they need a whole lot from a guy like Marlon Tuipulotu, but remember, he's never been part of an OTA or a training camp practice because he came in so late. And once you get into a season, those practices aren't about, testing guys out. It's about getting your team ready to play that week. So they've got some guys that have been around since last year, and Tyquan Thornton offensively, throw him into that category. You want to see a real NFL practice setting off-season workout before you really know what you got. So always could be a possibility there. I am right now, I will say, because I forgot to do it, unfortunately, I'm uploading some videos right now so you can see some of the stuff we shot during practice. At least I shot during practice this weekend, and hopefully it'll be of interest to some of you to be able to see that. Once again, it was just the stretch and warm-up period is the only time that we get to shoot, and I'm on an iPhone, so won't necessarily be the most scintillating video that you probably have ever seen, but might be better than nothing. If there's anything else you want to talk about, bring it up in the conversation. Like I always say, you control the direction that we go and what we talk about. So first one up out of the box is Dylan. Do you think Bashard Smith will make the 53-man roster? If so, how much of an impact will he have in year 1? I think he brings a lot of juice to the Kansas City running back room. Thoughts? Same thoughts here, Dylan. I think that Bashard brings a lot of juice to that group. you could see the speed. Absolutely. That was on display this weekend. You can just see how fast he is. It was a passing camp, so there were no run plays, anything like that. I mean, you got to see the running backs go through group drills with quarterbacks handing off to them, and that was the extent of really the run game this weekend. You got to see a little bit in, kick return, punt return, catching. But throwing the ball out of the backfield and getting to see Smith's speed there, it's elite. You can tell that he's on a different level, and obviously catches the ball really, really well out of the backfield. I mean, I would put Bashard Smith's chances of making the 90-player roster at 90%. I mean, it should be that clear cut. Just because, I mean, he's part of it is a draft pick, but I mean, part of it's just he's that good. So I don't think that it should be much of a question about whether or not he makes the roster. How much impact can he make? Yeah, that depends on just how much he picks up the offense, how quickly he picks it up. And, there might be some other factors too. I mean, maybe he's going to, need some opportunities to develop in front of him. I think he's going to force the Chiefs to make some decisions, but I'll put a little, just note here too, that everything I say about Bashard Smith, I'm probably going to say the exact same thing about Elijah Young, the running back out of Western Kentucky that started at Missouri. He's really fast too, and he showed really good hands. And they alternated the two of them. It was kind of the number one running back. So I think both of those guys, absolutely. I think they both have a chance to make the roster. Probably be easier to sneak Elijah Young onto a practice squad, but I think both those guys can play. So, but Bashard Smith in particular, I mean, we've been big fans of his on here for a long time, and we got to see exactly why. I mean, I think he's a perfect fit for this Chiefs offense. I mean, is he a guy that the Chiefs would go to right now as an every down back for 20 touches in a game? I mean, we're not there yet, but I certainly liked what I saw this weekend, and I know the Chiefs did too. So, Zulu, what do you think about Simmons apparently out there getting ready to play, ready to start? I mean, the fact that he was out there working was great. The distance between him starting and where he was this weekend, it's a far, far distance. I mean, he did a little bit of stretch and he did a little bit of offensive drill work. Hasn't obviously hit anybody yet. Hasn't been out there with a defense in front of him yet. That's about the extent. He did some mirroring where he lines up against another offensive lineman and they mirror each other, go back and forth. He was the defender in all of those scenarios. He wasn't the offensive lineman. And like there was some setup and punch where offensive lineman sets up and is just working on their alignment and their punch or initial break out of their stance, and most of the work there that Simmons did was as a defender. He had a bag, that's what the offensive lineman hits when they get out of their stance. So he did some setup work too of his own as a left tackle. So he did a little bit, but what you do in rookie minicamp and what you do in even an OTA practice or a training camp practice, long way away. And doing a little bit at rookie minicamp doesn't have any impact about your status as going on a non-football injury list or starting training camp on NFI. And that we'll see what happens during OTAs. If the Chiefs keep him out of OTAs, then obviously there's a chance that they will start him out, in what we call the tent, where he's working out on his own and just, strength and conditioning at the beginning of training camp. I mean, that's what I had been hearing from the Chiefs was the most likely outcome, was that, he might do a little bit during OTAs, but probably nothing more than maybe stretch and conditioning. If he does any more than that, I mean, it's going to tell you a lot about just where the Chiefs feel like he is in his rehab and how much he can handle once training camp begins. If they want to keep, like I said, that non-football injury status where, they can take him to camp and not have him, work out at the very beginning. They want to take him slow and they want to keep that NFI status possible because remember, I mean, the nice thing about the non-football injury list is that, you don't have to then worry about keeping this player on the roster or injured reserve or anything like that. If you start off camp on non-football injury, you can stay on there until you clear your physical. And that would be a big part of, the Chiefs feeling like that he can, participate in the beginning of camp is going to be him passing the physical conditioning test and the run test at the end of OTAs that then they have to pass again at the beginning of training camp. If the Chiefs don't feel like he can pass that, they're going to keep him on NFI, because then you can start training camp on NFI. Not that you're planning on keeping him out to start the season, but just in case there's, a stroke of bad luck, he has a setback, there's some discomfort, there's some swelling, anything like that pops up, you're prepared for it. You've got an eventuality. I mean, once you start putting him out there during OTAs, that removes that NFI possibility. So, the Chiefs are only going to let him do so much in OTAs if they think that he's ready to go. And if that's the case, then that's going to tell you a lot. I didn't learn a lot about where he's at right now watching minicamp. It's a great sign, because there was some consideration that he might not be able to do anything during rookie minicamp. So the fact that he's doing a little bit, it's a great sign, but there's still a lot of steps to go. And obviously that conditioning test, the run test, is one huge step. Getting to the point where he can, just go through a non-contact 11 on 11 is a big deal. Being able to go through a 9 on 7 period, it's going to be a big deal. All those steps up until, the pads come on and he's able to take some hits. Those are all steps that he's going to have to take and are still ahead of him. So a lot to like so far, a lot to be happy with, but still a few more hurdles to jump before you can start talking about Simmons being ready for minicamp, or training camp rather, and even, playing once the regular season gets here. Dylan, has the rest of the NFL figured out Reid's playbook? Last year, it seemed like it. Do you see any changes in the play calling this year? For the love of God, please no shuffle passes in the red zone. I think there's a legitimate question there, Dylan. And, and some of it even goes back to the Super Bowl and the fact that, Nick and I talked about that some of what the Chiefs do certainly looked a little stale and looked like teams had caught on to it. And let's face it, a lot of teams are going to steal what the Eagles did in that Super Bowl and try and use it against the Chiefs this year. It doesn't mean that they've got the personnel to pull off what the Eagles did, but they're going to give it a try. So we'll see, what they can do. And, but yeah, it did. And I think there's another reason why that maybe the offense felt a little like that last year, is that as the injuries piled up, especially at wide receiver, but in dealing with the protections issues, on the offensive line and particularly at left tackle, I think there's an absolutely argument to be made that the Chiefs got really basic and they kind of got back to what they feel like that they do. And, it's just a little bit of just, like I said, it's getting back to basics. It's doing things that aren't too exotic. It's just doing what you do. And so maybe they were forced into a little bit of that last year. Andy Reid's never going to use that as an excuse of any type. So maybe it's not the case, but I certainly felt like that at times last season. I think that if you certainly see all of the receivers healthy this year, you're going to see, a lot more. I had the video up there for a second, and I bring the audio down just a little bit because it's mostly, I think, probably a little natural sound. Hopefully it's playing. It's kind of freezing on my end a little bit. Let's try and start that again and see what happens. But yeah, there's more to, I think, come along, and I'll tell you what, I'm going to try and upload that again and see if it does a little better there. But Zulu, any significance other than the obvious to all the attentions Royals has received in camp? I'm not sure that there's really anything significant to read into it, Zulu. And this is why, because I try to remind everybody about this every year. Rookie minicamp, first and foremost, is about the rookies, the draft class particular. So this rookie minicamp was about those 7 guys. What you're trying to do is get those 7 guys ready for OTAs. It's your only chance that you're going to have to get them in the building and get them on the practice field. The next time that they are in this building, they're going to be on a practice field with the veterans. So this 3-day period is about getting them as up to speed as possible. To a lesser extent, it's about those 16 players that you signed that were undrafted free agents. You're trying to get them ready. You're a little bit about, seeing what they can do, but you're mostly trying to get them ready. So when OTAs are there, there's going to be some guys during this 3-day mini camp that you're just going to say, wait a minute, you know what? They don't have it. They don't have that it factor. They may not be ready for this. So you're going to move on and replace them with somebody else. And that's where, hey, minicamp guys that are trying out, they're not going to get many opportunities, but if they pop, they can get themselves a chance and move into that group. But first and foremost, it's about getting 7 players ready for OTAs, less extent about getting these other 16 guys that you have in camp ready for OTAs. And everybody else is there to facilitate the practice by and large. I mean, their intent is to make a play and show what they've got. But by and large, you had 50 people who were in camp this weekend to the Chiefs. They were there so you could evaluate the other 23 guys that you had out there. So that's a big part of it. Now, what was the deal with Royals? Royals, we were only out there for 2 days. So that's one thing you have to take into consideration, is that the media that was in attendance was only there Saturday and Sunday. We didn't get Monday, so we got to see 2 of the 3 practices. Saturday practice was pretty routine. I mean, it wasn't really set up for anybody. It was just kind of get the butterflies out. Sunday's practice was really about loading it on the rookies. And Andy Reid even talked about that there was a lot put into that practice for Jalen Royals on Sunday, because they want to get him ready for minicamp. I mean, you're trying to get other guys ready too, but there's only so much you can do for, one, I mean, you're doing everything you can for Josh Simmons, but there's not much you can do. Offensive linemen like Omar Norman Lott and Ashton Gelati, there's no pads. So, you can't really do a whole lot with them. Only thing you can really do are like linebackers, corners, and wide receivers. And obviously defensive plays, not much they can do. Running backs a little bit. I mean, Bashard Smith, you can throw him the football and see what happens. But it's a passing camp. So by and large, unless you got a quarterback as one of your draft picks, all the attention is going to go on a receiver, because they're going to get most of the plays. And that's exactly what happened on Sunday. Sunday was Jalen Royals' day. Everything was designed for him for the most part. I think my colleague over with ChiefsDigest.com, Matt McMullen, I think his numbers had him targeted 11 times on Sunday. That matched my numbers, whichever. I can't remember how many Matt said it was, but I know looking through my chart of all the plays, I had the same numbers that he did. So, I mean, it was all about getting Jalen Royals the football and seeing what he could do. Now, Saturday, he struggled a little bit. Was that nerves? Possibly. Could it be because, also they were having him do some things that were a little bit different than what he ran at SMU. There were a lot of fades that day, a lot of downfield stuff. Sunday, it was crossers and ends and just slants, and he aced that. He was all over that. So, things that he was really comfortable with doing, he did really, really well. So I wouldn't say don't read a lot of significance into one day at rookie minicamp. I mean, it's good. You don't want to hear bad things about your 4th round wide receiver, but it's not this. I don't think it should be taken as, hey, Jalen Royals should have been a 1st round draft pick. That's not what rookie minicamp will tell you. I mean, if anything, rookie minicamps I've learned, and especially for receivers, and when they can't hit anybody, what you want to see is that they at least do what they're supposed to do. It's not indicative of future behavior. It's not indicative of future outcomes unless you're terrible. And even then, I mean, you can have a bad day. I mean, Xavier Worthy had a bad day, first day of rookie minicamp last year. Wind was blowing at like 40 miles an hour, and he was a little nervous. He was a lot better the next 2 days. But, there was obviously a lot of talk about the fact that day 1 was a bad day for him. Now, Jalen Royals didn't have a bad day on Saturday. He had a decent day and had an even better day on Sunday. So you're probably going to get a little bit more positive. But, hey, go into OTAs, go into training camp, I would just say, with reasonable expectations and see what happens. But, he has done nothing so far to make you down on the guy. He has done everything that you need to expect. That, yeah, he's exactly what he was. Is he the 4th-round draft pick? Are you looking at him and thinking, wait a minute, we got Justin Jefferson here? No, that's not what you learned during a rookie minicamp. So I wouldn't read any significance into it quite yet. Infopocalypse. Do either of you think Esapol could beat out Driscoll? Any talk from the team on him yet? Hasn't been a lot on the record because, we didn't get a ton into with Andy Reid. He wasn't on the podium for very long on Sunday. And then other than talking about the draft picks, he really didn't get into it too much. But I can tell you from the conversations I've had behind the scenes, yes, the Chiefs felt really good about both, and I'll bring Dalton Cooper, the tackle from Oklahoma State, into this conversation too. Those were the 2 offensive linemen that the Chiefs signed as these undrafted free agents. Esapol and Dalton Cooper, both high expectations. I mean, now Cooper, it looks like they've probably got more plans for him as an interior lineman competing at guard. Now he played some tackle on Sunday as well. So could he be a 4-spot player? I mean, your projection for Dalton Cooper, I would say you'd like for him to be a Cam Irving. If he could be that for you, it's great. I mean, you need players like that. You need guys that can play multiple positions and be that versatile. So we'll see what, as my watch starts talking to me for no reason, you need guys like that. Now, Esapol, I mean, that dude is big. I mean, let me look. Okay, I know he's 6'7". I've memorized that by this point. What's his weight listed at? 319, I believe that, from Washington State. He's got clearly the physical size to handle that position. Could he beat out Ethan Driscoll? Sure. There's no reason to believe that he couldn't. And, and that's, you're an NFL team. Honestly, that's what you're looking for is, you're looking for guys that can help you be better than you were and just upgrade. So if he cannot play Ethan Driscoll, he might get that development spot this year. Could be that Ethan Driscoll's good enough now. Maybe he's improved and he's going to compete for a better role. Maybe he'll push somebody, whether it's Wanye Morris or, the Chiefs are probably going to carry 4 tackles. So, I mean, could they carry 5? Possible, but, it's going to be a little bit more difficult this year for maybe that last spot because I think there's quite a few guys that could compete for it. The question is Wanye somebody that all 3 of these guys compete with, if it's Wanye, Driscoll, and like Esapol up for that 4th spot, and I'm clocking in as Jalen Moore, Jawan Taylor, and Josh Simmons as your 3 tackles. I mean, maybe if especially to begin the season, if Simmons isn't ready to play, maybe you do carry 5 tackles, and now maybe 2 of those 3 can keep jobs and win jobs. We'll see, but it's I think going to be a little bit. It's going to be competitive, but yes, I mean, can Esapol compete with Ethan Driscoll? Absolutely, from what I've seen so far. Now, once again, pads come on. We haven't seen that yet, but obviously the Chiefs like what they've seen so far, and they like what they saw on tape and film too. Chris, what player on the roster besides Mahomes can the Chiefs ill afford to see get a serious injury this season? I mean, I think you could go with a lot of players, but I don't think there's any doubt. For me, I think I'd say it's Chris Jones. If you had to play 13 games this season without Chris Jones, that just makes everybody on that defense's job harder because you don't really have anybody to step up for him. I mean, could you expect an Omar Norman lot to give you the snaps that Chris Jones has given you at the level that Chris Jones gives them? I can't bet on that. I mean, there's no guarantee. I mean, it's a low percentage. Could it happen? Sure. But I don't think that I don't think you would get the results that you would need. I mean, the Chiefs have shown they can make it to a Super Bowl with a couple of their best receivers hurt. They made it to a Super Bowl without, a reliable left tackle situation. They've made it to Super Bowl without Tyreek Hill. They've haven't necessarily made it to a Super Bowl without Travis Kelce, but Travis Kelce is not Travis Kelce anymore. Still a really good player. I'm not knocking that, but I think it's Chris Jones because without Chris Jones, that entire defensive line changes. You have nobody that you necessarily have to double team. You got a lot of one-on-one matchups across the board. You can I think bring an extra rusher now a whole lot easier. I mean, we've already seen that teams can get pressure at times with 4 rush, or excuse me, that teams can hold up to the Chiefs rushing 4, rushing 5, and maybe then the Chiefs having to bring an extra blitzer sometimes to get pressure. You take Chris Jones out of the equation, and we've seen that before. We've seen the Chiefs have to play a short period of time without Chris Jones, and it does change things. It really does. So that would be my guy. I mean, I could see you choosing from others as well. If you wanted to choose Trey McDuffie, I'd buy that. Nick Bolton, hey, you're at least in the great position where you've got Drew Tranquill, but as well as the Chiefs played without Nick Bolton 2 years ago, that was Drew Tranquill 2 years ago. I don't know if it would be the same outcome this time around. So, hey, anybody else has any thoughts? Share them in the conversation, because I'm not necessarily guaranteeing it has to be Chris Jones, but that would be my guy. Zulu, who exactly will be the left guard, and does it really matter? Is left guard important? Well, sure, left guard's important, Zulu. I mean, the Chiefs would not have gone out and spent the money that they did on Joe Thuney if it did not matter. And I think it mattered in the Super Bowl. I mean, I like Mike Caliendo. Is Mike Caliendo better than just the run-of-the-mill average replacement level left guard? I think he probably is. We just haven't seen it in a 17-game season yet. So, but I'm interested to see how OTAs unfold and where the Chiefs are at the beginning of training camp, because Andy Reid is pretty big on, having guys win jobs. Now, that was different last year, and that's why I'm wondering if it's going to be a little bit different this year, because let's face it, they kind of rushed a little bit to give that job, starting left tackle job, to Kingsley Suamataia. And he is going to be a candidate for left guard this year. The question is, do they start out with Kingsley at left guard? Do they start out with Mike Caliendo at left guard and force Kingsley to win the position? That's what I would do. I mean, we'll see if that ends up being what the Chiefs do. So I don't know what's going on. I hope this video is. I'll have to go back down and look at your comments down further and everything. Yeah, let me know how the video was playing, because it's choppy on my end. I don't know if that's just the internet or if it's still not just uploading correctly. I don't know. It's bothering me though. I would anticipate that the Chiefs are going to go in with Mike Caliendo starting at left guard. A lot of rotation from Kingsley. They may even share the position a little bit. We'll see, but I would expect in week 1, unless there's a dramatic turn of events, somebody really impresses you with how they play, there's an injury of some sort. I mean, I think you're going to see I was looking at the comments later on about Hunter Norzad. I think you're going to see, Kingsley Suamataia win that job and be the starter at left tackle beginning the season. But hey, could it be Mike Caliendo? Could it be Hunter Norzad? Yeah, it could. Nikki, thank you. Yeah, that's why I took the video down. You're saying it's frozen for you too. I'm going to see if I uploaded it again. So let's see what's going on here. I might just have to. I was taking off my Google Drive. Maybe I need to put it flat out on my hard drive for it to work a little bit better. We'll give that a shot and see what happens. But I mean, I think it does matter. I think it's going to be Kingsley to start the season, most likely. It's going to be a competitive job, though. I don't think it's going to be just anybody. I think it's going to be a competitive job that a couple of two or three different players could win. So, and injuries obviously change things too. So we'll see what happens. Chris, how long before the NFL takes the NHL lottery draft idea, improves the presentation, and gets 50 million viewers for it? Man, Chris, don't give the NFL any ideas about shows that will get viewers. I mean, and I don't know the NFL's logic and reasoning. I'm assuming, because I even though I really like hockey, I like the NHL. There's no team in Kansas City, so I don't follow it as closely. Although I was really sad to see the Blues lose in just such heartbreaking fashion the other night. But I mean, draft lotteries are really there to prevent teams from tanking, at least to discourage it. And the NFL, I mean, they had that problem for a little while. I don't think it's as bad as it has been. So, do you get situations where teams are intentionally bad? I don't think you get it as much because even though teams, hey, there's some teams that still make money despite having bad football teams. You get punished if you're too bad for too long. So I mean, you really can't afford to leave that much money on the table, most of the owners get it. I mean, they realize that they got to spend money to make money. I mean, they've got and the fact that the NFL has a salary cap floor, I think it helps too. It helps keep teams from being too bad. This isn't Major League Baseball where you can put out a $25 million roster and try to compete and put it on the field and be okay with going 40 and 122 or something. And football in the NFL, because of that, because of the cap and the floor and everything, it's a little bit more difficult. But I think you'd have to wait and see, if the NFL really gets tanking problems again. Then I think you could always see a lottery. But hey, you know what? They could also end up seeing viewership and decide, hey, maybe we get a lot of people to watch this. Let's just not give them any ideas. That's always my idea. Is just don't give the NFL any bad ideas, because if they think it'll make them money, they'll do it. Dylan, do you think Jeff Bosa will be able to cover tight ends that Nick Bolton and Drew Tranquill had problems with last year? We was getting our aces handed to us in the middle of the field. That is one thing that Jeff Bosa is really good at and really comfortable with. Will there be an adjustment for him at the NFL level, getting used to the speed and the savvy of some of the tight ends that he's going to go up against? Sure. But I think that should be an improvement that you will see with him. I mean, obviously, there's a lot made of the fact that he started out as a safety, was converted, as a freshman to linebacker. But he's got a lot of ball skills. I mean, he definitely has some coverage skills. So there's no doubt about it. He's a smart player. He's got speed. I mean, there's a lot to like there with Jeff Bosa. So will it be a significant upgrade? Possibly. And it'll be a little bit different. I mean, when the Chiefs are in their base 4-3, Nick Bolton's still going to have his primary responsibilities and his coverage areas. It might be a little bit different when the Chiefs have two linebackers on the field. Boss is going to be the guy that if he's on the field with Bolton, that you set it up so that he's the guy that's in coverage. But at the same time, he projects this season, the Chiefs are talking about playing him at the will linebacker, so not necessarily going to be lining up on the same side as the tight end, but he's still, I think, the guy that you want to adjust and make sure that he's the guy that's in coverage. So it'll be interesting to see how the Chiefs use him and deploy him. Should they be better against guarding tight ends this year? I mean, it's hard to say, because I think they should be better from the linebacker level. Well, Tranquill, I mean, the numbers would say, and I say this strictly just based on the numbers, not saying it just based on the film or anything. Nick's a much better judge of the film than I would be, but you look at the numbers, and the numbers say to you that Drew Tranquill was a bit slower last year. Maybe he's starting to lose that half step last season. I mean, his expansion experience, it would make sense. There could be injuries behind that too that we don't know about, so that could be the case. But if you want to get faster, you're going to be faster at linebacker this year in theory with Bosa. Okay, are there things that Tranquill wouldn't fall for that a rookie might fall for? Possibly. So is there increase in blown coverage? Perfectly possible. And he obviously playing a different position than Bolton, so he's not necessarily going to replace Nick Bolton in a lot of those things. Nick Bolton in coverage, I think you just have to accept as a cost of doing business, because the rest of Nick Bolton's job, which is basically the biggest thing on Nick Bolton's plate, his biggest job responsibility is just being the brains behind what Steve Spagnuolo does on the field, to make sure that everybody's in the right place, that and making the adjustments based on what the offense is doing. Those decisions Nick Bolton makes better than anybody else. So that's why Chiefs signed him. I mean, that's why they're bringing him back, because he's that guy. That's his best skill. Is pass coverage his worst skill? Sure, but it's just the cost you do of having Nick Bolton, who can do a lot of other things really well. So, but they're like I said, they're gonna be playing a different spot. So it's probably not talking about replacing Bolton's coverage as much, but if he can work into a spot where he's replacing Tranquil's coverage, that I think you'd try to be optimistic that would be an upgrade from at least what you saw last year. And obviously, the other possibility would be that Tranquil is healthier than he was last year if an injury was bothering him, and he'll be better too. So. Getting a lot of questions from some of the usual early suspects, and I know I'm still dealing with questions all the way up to 7:05, so it's like barely after we started. So I can't wait to get some other voices in here. So nothing against Dylan and Zulu and all you guys and Chris, but I just make sure I get a lot of diversity of questions and from everybody that wants to get their questions in. So maybe I should start a lightning round before Nick even gets here just to catch up a little bit. What was my this I thought I had the different question because I know it was Dylan's question next to what is your opinion on Jake Breeningstool? Does he make the 53? Does he beat out Jared Wiley? I obviously really like Jake Breeningstool too. He looked really good at the camp. I liked his ability to box out. He looks the part at his size, like 6'6". He's a big dude. He's a different type of tight end to Noah Gray, so I don't want to compare the two. You need multiple types of guys sometimes, and I've always said Noah Gray is really, really good at being a 6'3", smaller tight end. What we'll see about Breeningstool, hey, at the NFL level, can he block? Because it's one thing the Chiefs don't really have is a blocking tight end. He might not be able to block either, so it's the reality of it. Can he catch the football pretty well? Yeah. Has he got good skills and a good set to build on? Yeah. So now Wiley, we don't really know where he is health wise. Is he going to be ready for week 1? Who knows? I mean, but if based on what I've seen thus far, if I had Travis Kelce, Noah Gray, Jake Breeningstool, and Jared Wiley, I'd be carrying 4 tight ends on the roster. I mean, we'll see. Once again, we'll see what happens at training camp. It's too early to say for sure, but. Yeah, to me, it's I don't necessarily think it's a matter of beating out Jared Wiley. I mean, I think there's a place for both those guys, but the biggest factor will just be how healthy is Wiley, especially to start the season. So we'll see. I mean, it looks like it could be close about whether or not Wiley is ready for the beginning of camp. If he is, I mean, that obviously helps his situation. And I think it's easier for tight ends coming off knee injuries than maybe some other positions. Now, Travis Kelce was a unicorn, so I hate to use Kelce as a comparison, but he had that microfracture knee surgery that basically kept him out of his entire rookie year. Now, he had a training camp, he had OTAs that year, so that helped. Wiley had OTAs and training camp as a rookie too, so that helps. But Travis Kelce, year 2 and year 3, year 2, first year back from the knee surgery, and year 3 were pretty identical years. I mean, he was a little better in year 3, but he was really good in year 2. I mean, he didn't take that big, huge leap till year 4, although even in year 2, I mean, he was an elite tight end. And it's so I don't want to put that kind of pressure on Wiley. I mean, I still think that Jared Wiley, if he's going to be a good NFL tight end, you're going to see his best in 2026 when he's fully back from the knee surgery. But I wouldn't have any problems based on, like I said, based on what we've seen thus far and what the projection is for both those guys. I'd carry 4 tight ends, but we'll see what happens. Terry, am I leading the UDF hype train? I think that's the question. Oh, who leads the UDFA hype train? I think you're just talking there about. I'm interpreting that as the best players amongst the UDFAs this weekend and how they performed. I'm taking the question that way. So if I'm wrong, let me know. But I'm just going to go down the list and tell you what I thought about them. Elijah Badger of the UDFA receivers probably was the best. I mean, he was able to get some contested balls. Showed good hand skills, good ability to go up and get the ball. Good, he was in the right places at the right time. Obviously, was understanding the playbook. Didn't see a lot of issues with him or any of these guys, frankly, like lining up in the wrong spot. I've seen that before. I'm not going to throw people under the bus. I don't think that's right, but let's just say these guys didn't have that problems. But Badger, I thought was looked really good. I mean, you want to see more of him. Magdalena from Fresno State, the team does like him. I mean, the team likes both those guys. Thought that he had a really, and I've talked about this a couple of times now, and including on 41 is the mic on Sunday, Magdalena had a really nice adjustment on a ball against air, but it was with a ball that was in the wind that looked like was probably misthrown a little bit too. He had to change directions, an adjustment, looks over his shoulder, finds the ball, makes the change, and made a difficult catch look easy. So one play, but that impressed me a lot. The Justin Lockhart, the Chiefs did waive with an injury designation. Don't know what the injury was. He was on the sideline starting the day on Saturday. There was another receiver too. It was one of the tryout guys. I don't have my notes in front of me for that one. I can't remember for sure who it was, but Lockhart just got a little dinged up, so they waived him. He's back. If he clears waivers, he'll end up back with the team on injured reserve. Usually in those cases, there'll be an injury settlement, so you might even see Justin Lockhart again later this season. But for now, he's going to be on injured reserve most likely for a short period of time. Going over the running back, like Elijah Young that I mentioned earlier, Chiefs really liked what they saw of him on film. So he was a rookie that they were really excited to see, and like I said, he was very impressive this weekend. So, I mean, if you want to know, like, if I'm leading the hype train for anybody, I mean, Elijah Young and Jake Breedingsteel are a couple of the undrafted guys I would definitely be leading the hype train on. Talked about Dalton, Cooper, and Essapol. Cooper, versatile offensive lineman, looks like he can play at least 4 spots. Pohl, a classic tackle with his size. Really want to see those guys when the pads come on. We'll see. Linebacker Brandon George from Pittsburgh. He looks the part. Really good size. He looks like a thumper. They had him playing some Mike linebacker. That would be intriguing to me, having because he looks like a traditional middle linebacker, downhill thumper. And so if that could be a guy that you groom into being a backup for Nick Bolton, that would be really, really intriguing. Defensive backs, the quarterback Jacob Covington. I can't say I had a lot of observations on him. I thought he was maybe a little bit overlooked, and it's hard. I mean, trying to keep track of 77 drafted guys on the field and everything. People do fall through the cracks a little bit, so I'm not sure I can really tell you anything. I mean, the fact that he's still around, Chiefs kept him. It's a good indication that they like what they saw. Melvin Smith from Southern Arkansas. Chiefs were really big on him coming into this camp, and he lived up to it. He had at least 1 interception. Looked like a really good athlete. I mean, it looks like he could be a good special teams player as well. So I like his possibility and chances. Kevin Knowles from Florida State. I mean, he and Melvin Smith. I have Smith ahead of Knowles, but both of those guys I thought looked really good. Will Brooks, safety from Tennessee, was the only undrafted guy that the Chiefs released outright. They waived him today. Glendon Miller, safety from Maryland, had some good moments. I did notice him a couple of times. Didn't see him intently, but obviously he's still around too. Keziah Izzard, the defensive tackle from Penn State. I mean, like I said, defensive lineman, offensive lineman, you got to wait until the pads come on. But, he was out there on the first team line, basically, playing with Omar Norman Lott, and I thought he looked really good too. So I think you want to see more, especially when the pads come on in July and August. And then Eddie Zaplicki, the punter from USC, Ray Guy Award winner. He's got a big leg. The only time that we really got to see him kick was Saturday. They had him in the far end zone kicking with the wind. So that helped a little bit, but at the same time, a lot of his kicks were carrying 60 plus in the air. Like I said, kicking out of the end zone, he had a couple of balls that looked like he was sending returners back to the 30. Now, that was with the wind. That was certainly adding some yardage. But a big foot, looked like there was some good, turnover and Just a little bit of, I don't want to call it inconsistency, because I think he was trying to knuckle it a little bit. I mean, that's what good punters are trying to do. But it looked like he was turning the ball over well. So, hey, what do the Chiefs want? The Chiefs want somebody who can come in and push Matt Araiza and be good competition. So it's a win-win there either way. Either Eddie Zaplicki is really good competition and it makes Matt Araiza better, or he's a really good punter and he's going to beat out Matt Araiza. It's a win-win situation. So Steeman Demon, was it a surprise that Simmons already signed his contract? I honestly don't even understand why, contract negotiations with rookies go on as long as they do and get as contentious as they do, because they're slotted. I mean, there's not really a whole lot to negotiate. I mean, it's just, teams are given numbers, or there's a slot for every pick, and there's not really a whole lot of leeway. Usually the things that go sideways on draft pick negotiations is usually things like, either some guaranteed money is one, the ability of a team to recoup money, offsets and contracts can be a part of that. So, hey, if a player doesn't work out and you want to try and collect a little bit of their bonus money back because they didn't work out and you move on from them, that can sometimes be a factor, especially if teams are playing hardball and they really want to take a risk. They feel like they're taking a risk of some sort, and that could have been the case with Josh Simmons. I mean, if the Chiefs, for the risk with the injury, wanted some offsets, but as long as one side isn't being unreasonable, whether, like I said, it's the team, it's digging in its heels on offset language, or wants to be a little stingy with the bonus money, or the player wants to be greedy with the bonus money, I mean, things should get done pretty quickly. So, and honestly, I mean, if you're Simmons, there's a legitimate reason to get that contract done pretty quickly, which is that if you go out there and you re-aggravate that knee and you get hurt, I mean, Chiefs could walk away. I mean, or they would have leverage to say, well, you know what? Now you retort a patella tendon, so we're going to want a lot of offset language in here to offset the risk of signing you. So I'm not saying that it was part of it, but it can always be a factor. And Nikki, is it typical for a rookie contract to be fully guaranteed like Simmons is? It's a little bit odd, and I'm looking to see because last I saw, we didn't necessarily have all of the details, so I apologize if the details have come out yet, so that we know everything in the breakdown. Just pulling it up here. We just still kind of have the big ballpark details, which are sometimes, depending on the source of the details, a little bit different than the actual details. Guess it looks like we've got the real details in there. And yeah, I mean, it's not unheard of. I mean, you're going to see some other first round draft picks that probably do get fully guaranteed money, and 14.7 million to round up, isn't unheard of either, as far as just guarantee. I mean, that's not a terrible amount of money in the NFL. So, I mean, hey, if the Chiefs were happy with that, there's no reason Josh Simmons shouldn't be happy for that. What will be interesting to me is probably once you see how the contracts shake out this year. Did Josh Simmons give up a little money in exchange for guaranteed money just so he's managing his own risk? Hey, if the players around him make a little bit more money but less guaranteed, I mean, that can be something a little give and take. So I'll be interested to see, Nikki, when all the contracts get done, or we get closer and we see how some of the other late first round picks fared with him. I wouldn't be surprised if, some of the guys in front of him, and you can obviously look at the early second, but those second round contracts without the 5th year option sometimes are a little bit different, but we'll see. Sorry there. All of a sudden, my my browser said my microphone was muted. I don't know how that happened. So I hope that you all can still hear me. I don't know what's going on there. Um, late fees. That's very kind of you. I mean, I'm not going to charge you for being late with the super chat, but I truly appreciate that. So I'll have to give you a free question. So if I see you pop up and everything, I'll move you to the front of the line if I can, Luttrell. So appreciate that. That's very, very always super kind of you. Glad to see you in here. I'm Julie, a padded practice enthusiast. Yes, that's what we all should be here. Maybe that's what needs to go on a t-shirt. I mean, I mean, we got until the pads come on, but man, padded practice enthusiast. I think Nick would love that. I mean, I can't pay him, for the TV and money and people. That's all. I shouldn't say anymore because Nick is probably watching and it'll get mad at me. I'm just gonna say, I mean, I like that, Julia. I'm gonna have to write that down. So that's a good one. We might need that, but put that on a t-shirt. Ethan, I saw the back of your head during the press conference and I never realized how tall you were. What inconvenience do you find the most annoying about being a rather tall guy? I am 6'4". I mean, I suppose I should say on good days, I probably am more like 6'3" and 7/8 at my old age. I'm probably shrinking. But definitely, I mean, I in shoes, I definitely clear 6'4", so I got that going for me. My biggest inconveniences, Ethan, especially as I get older, are low shelves. Yeah, I'm at the grocery store and there's something on the bottom shelf, especially if it's like, there have been some people buying some things and now it's 6 inches away and you got to get down on one knee in the grocery store where you don't know where the people have been. They got their shoes on the floor and it's dirty. That's probably my biggest inconvenience. Although I probably had another one that didn't occur to me is probably another inconvenience for relatively tall people. When you're out at rookie minicamp and those practices are 2 hours and 20 minutes and you're basically stuck in a box where you can't walk around a lot and you're not doing any, you can't move around much. You're kind of in one spot. Your lower back really, really hurts. So I feel like, but my shorter colleagues don't have that pain as much. And so, I mean, I do try myself trying to stretch it out during practices. I mean, people don't understand. I back when I was a little tubbier, with my weight, I mean, I'm still a little tubby. Haven't gotten where I am, where I want to be weight wise, but I will say this is that, clothing manufacturers have no idea how tall or short big people can be. They pretty much envision that every person of generous proportions with the waist is about 5'8", because the number of I'll find. I would find waist size, and I don't want to say my waist size back then because I feel insecure. But you would see these waist sizes in my size with like a 28-inch inseam, and I'm like, what? How is this person shaped? I mean, ideally, I would need. I mean, I probably, if I had all the money in the world, I mean, I'd probably have to get like a custom inseam, like 35 inches, because 34s are usually a little too short, 36s a little too long. Just talking about champagne problems here, but that I mean, losing weight has helped because there are certainly now more clothes in my size. Go to certain retailers and I can even shop in the 2XL section and like the regular person section. Although with a 34 36 inseam, you pretty much have to be shopping in the big and tall area anyway. But every once in a while I get to sneak down into the normal people clothes, and that's nice. Scott, after watching both Rice and Worthy have really productive seasons at wide receiver, is the narrative that rookie wide receivers don't do in Reid's system? I think you're talking about one that I have talked about before, which is that rookies oftentimes struggle in Andy Reid's system. I mean, here's the thing: is that rookies can produce in Andy Reid's system. What we have from now 26 years of experience in the Andy Reid system is that if you succeed as a rookie in Andy Reid's system, you're a really good receiver. I mean, there's basically 5 receivers that I can think of off the top of my head that have had productive, really good seasons, like for Andy Reid. And I guess, 7, because I wasn't even including Tyreek in that category. Or maybe I was. No, I wasn't. So you got Deshaun Jackson, you got Jeremy Maclin, you've got Tyreek Hill, you've got Xavier Worthy, you've got Rashee Rice. So I guess it is 5. I guess I'll leave it at 5. It's 6. Reggie Brown, Philadelphia, had a really, really good rookie season, and then I think he had injuries that affected him, and he kind of tailed off after that. But those are basically the 6 receivers that have had good seasons, and that's like even going down to 500 plus. If you get it down to like 800 plus, I think you're only talking about Maclin, Deshaun Jackson, and Rashee Rice. And even both Rice and Worthy, I mean, they were a little bit the product of situations, in that there were points where Mahomes and Reid had nobody to go to. So they were pretty much forced to develop and to grow and mature. But at the same time, I mean, you look at it and you're saying, okay, wait a minute. The receivers who have had the best seasons under Andy Reid, Jeremy Maclin, superstar, at least the star. Deshaun Jackson, superstar. Tyreek Hill, superstar. So are your expectations for Rice and Worthy a lot higher than they were for, say, McCole Hardman and Chris Conley, who are both good receivers? I mean, yeah. I mean, that's the thing, is that's why I would say be excited about both those guys after their rookie seasons, because rookies don't do that with Andy Reid unless they are really, really good. And that's why, I mean, there's part of me, and I've been thinking about that today. What are the expectations for Jalen Royals? Unless, things go south, unless things get sideways, like they were last season, and all of a sudden you got 2 or 3 injuries, and Jalen Royals goes from, being a backup, next to Juju Smith-Schuster, and all of a sudden has to start. I mean, at best, under ideal circumstances, Jalen Royals is going to be your 4th or 5th guy. It's making me think, because if I'm not mistaken, because Chris Conley was a 4th round pick, I'm almost sure, and Demarcus Robinson was, I think, a 6th round pick. So unless I'm just completely losing my mind in my old age, but I'm pulling up Chris Conley here real quick. Actually, was he a 3rd? Yeah, he was a 3rd rounder. Conley was. So, hey, rookie year, 17 catches, 199 yards, touchdown. I mean, would that be terrible numbers for Jalen Royals as a rookie? I mean, Chris Conley was a good receiver. Not great. I mean, he had 700 yards one season. That was the first year in Jacksonville. And that was even after the injury, which I think really kind of diminished Chris Conley. I think he could have been a 1,000-yard receiver or 800, 900-yard receiver had he not had that Achilles injury. I think, it definitely held him back. But I mean, that wouldn't be a terrible year for a 4th round draft pick. I mean, especially, like I said, in Andy Reid's system. Now, remember, Demarcus Robinson was a later pick. So let me confirm that I was right, that he was a 6th rounder. No, I'm sorry. He was a 4th rounder. He's a 4th rounder, just like Jalen Royals. Didn't play his rookie year. He was exclusively a special teams player. Played all 16 games, was a great gunner. I mean, would you be happy if Jalen Royals was a gunner this year and played on special teams and did not play at wide receiver? I mean, I think most fans would find that a disappointment. It's entirely possible. I mean, it can happen. I mean, it's, and that's why I say I want to tap the brakes a little bit, because I just want to create real expectations that even if Jalen Royals looks good at a rookie minicamp, that it doesn't necessarily mean that he's going to be an 800-yard receiver. I mean, once again, chances are that most rookie receivers under Andy Reid don't put up those kind of numbers. Rashee Rice and Xavier Worthy were different, because I think they're both 1,000-yard receivers in the NFL. I mean, Rashee Rice for sure. If he can come back and be the receiver close to what he was before the knee injury, he's going to be, he's going to be it. So he's going to be a great player. So Worthy, same thing. I mean, I think Xavier Worthy, based on what we saw as a rookie, I think he can be a 1,000-yard receiver. But you look at receivers that have gone later, and no, I mean I mean, and remember both those guys, both Worthy and Rice, were first round players. Deshaun Jackson, Jeremy Maclin, first round players. I think, if I'm not mistaken, Reggie Brown, I want to say was like maybe a 5th rounder. I'm trying to remember off the top of my head. And Tyreek, 5th rounder with first round talent that fell to the 5th round for obvious reasons. Rashee Rice was probably a first round pick had it not been for the off the field issues that apparently all the NFL teams knew about that we just didn't know about. And that does happen. So, bottom line, Scott, to really just answer your question directly, I mean, after watching their productive real seasons, I don't think that it's the narrative that rookie wide receivers don't do well in Reid's system. I think it's that really good receivers that are drafted highly and are going to be productive NFL receivers can have good years as rookies. You can still be a productive NFL receiver without being productive as a rookie under Andy Reid. So, I mean, while one is a really good indicator, if you have a productive year under Andy Reid, it probably means you're a really good receiver. If you don't have a good year under Andy Reid as a rookie, it doesn't mean that you're not going to be productive. But if you're drafted in the 4th round, chances are greater that it's going to take you a little bit longer and you're not going to be. And once again, you look at this Chiefs depth chart. If the Chiefs wide receiver group is going to be as good as people think that it could be and should be, then chances are Jalen Royals isn't going to have a very good year because there's going to be 3 people healthy in front of him at least. So, and if he's not the 4th best receiver on this team this year, that might be a problem. And if he's the 5th or 6th, that might be a really good thing. So, Jesus, do you guys think Simmons lied about his health to get to the Chiefs? It's just wild. Chiefs got him at 32. I can put a kibosh on that conspiracy, Jesus. I mean, I do think it's wild that he managed to get to the Chiefs at 32. Even with my concerns about the injury and everything. But no, I mean, he did medical exams at the combine. He did MRIs at the combine. He went to a bunch of NFL teams and did medical exams with them too. So yeah, if he didn't have a torn patella tendon, kind of hard to hide that. On an MRI. So I don't think so. Now, did he Shedeur Sanders it? Not that I know of. I mean, I think in his case, I mean, if you're Josh Simmons, I think you want to go as high as you possibly can. I mean, Chiefs are obviously a great place for him. But no, I don't think so. I can't buy into that conspiracy theory. Sorry. Dylan, did the Chiefs keep 6 or 7 wide receivers this year? I mean, I think 6 on the high end. I've come to think over the last few years watching the Chiefs experience that if you're keeping 7 receivers, it's because you probably don't have 7 receivers and you're forced to just keep a bunch of guys because you've got, instead of having a 1, a 2, and 5 threes, you might have a 1, a 3, and 5 fives. A 7 wide receiver room is not indicative of a deep and lengthy bench. It's indicative of a team that's, like I said, got maybe a couple of receivers, but it's got 5 guys who are all the same and none of them stand out. And that's I think we've learned now is not a positive thing. 5 or 6 is the number. And I think Sam McDowell, my friend and colleague over at the Kansas City Stars, made a good point, which is just that 7 receivers is too many mouths to feed. It's too many to keep everybody fresh. Although I still go back to, is it, you can't keep them fresh, or is it more that if you had 7 receivers, like the old adage, if you have 2 quarterbacks, you have none. If you got 7 receivers, you got 5 guys that don't stand out. Probably the same. 6, I think, is about the max you want, especially if one of those 6 is like a return specialist that maybe doesn't play that much, but just a return guy. So I'm going to go, Dylan, that the Chiefs keep 5 or 6. If they keep 7, I mean, with the way this group is looking, I mean, I'd be surprised because I think that 7th receiver is would be probably quite a ways back from like their 4th best receiver. Hey, Jesus, what are the Chiefs draft picks best play? Can you expand on the answer? Intriguing question, Jesus. You know what? I'm going to flag that just so one, I can think about it, and then two, bring it back for Nick because maybe he's got some insight on it. And Nick should be here pretty soon. I think he told me that he's been waiting to come in until I, get my lightning round long answers out of the way. So. Your follow-up question, Jesus, do you guys think the Chiefs would pick another player if that player was there at 32 instead of Simmons? That's really interesting because I've thought about that. And I mean, the only thing I think that would have probably made a difference, I mean, you're talking about if you're taking one of your 15 players that you have a first round grade on. And it's really good question, in regards to Simmons, because, Brett Veach hasn't specifically said that he's one of the guys they had a first round grade on. I mean, he's a first round player without the injury. So was he in kind of a special category, or is he like, your best of the second round players that you're taking if none of your first round guys were there? If a defensive tackle, especially if there's a defensive tackle that had a first round grade, I think that would have been an interesting decision. Another interesting decision would have been if Josh Connerly fell to 32. So if it was Connerly or Simmons, that I think would have been a really interesting decision. And I'm not sure what the Chiefs would have done. I think it's 50-50 about which way they would have gone, because I think that, again, they felt like Simmons was the best upside, but it's one that which there's a little bit of risk, even the Chiefs will say that there's a little bit of a risk. They certainly feel like it's not as big of a risk as some people do. They don't feel like it's as obviously as a bigger risk as I thought it might be. And still, I still have more concerns than the Chiefs do. I mean, and I give the Chiefs credit. I mean, they've been able to see the knee. They've had their doctors look at it. So they have a lot more information than I do. I can only go off the fact that patella tendons for offensive linemen are oftentimes bad news. But if it was Josh Connerly or Josh Simmons, that would have been a really tough decision. I don't know what they would have done. And I think, we're talking about defensive tackle. I mean, we're probably talking about like a Derrick Harmon would have had to fall to 32. So maybe not entirely realistic to think about that. But Weston, you think there's a real shot that Brenningstool makes the 53 of the practice squad? Oh, I mean, I think there's a really good shot he makes the 53. I think one of the best shots of any of the undrafted free agents. I mean, unless he just flames out in training camp and doesn't follow through with the promise that he shows both at this rookie camp and with his college film. I mean, I think he'll make it. I think let's put it this way. I think he has a better chance to make the 53 than the practice squad, because I think if you put Jared Brenningstool on waivers, I think somebody's going to take him. Although I was really surprised. He was asked during his press conference how many teams were interested in him, and I believe he said 4. And I mean, maybe that was just the 4 that he knew about. I would like to think that his agent heard from more teams than that, because I would have been interested in him if I were a team GM. But and now obviously some teams drafted a tight end, so maybe they're out of the market. Maybe there's other teams that are just really happy with what they have, and maybe they have some other young players that they want to get looks to. Maybe there's a flag on Brenningstool that we don't know. I mean, obviously there was a lot of teams that had him as a 5th round draft projection. I think the Chiefs were probably one of those teams. So, I mean, it's entirely possible that there's just some flags that we don't know about, and there's a reason why he fell the way he did, and maybe that's why some teams didn't consider him. But I don't get that. But I would have to think, and you would think that especially because, and Nick and I have talked about this before, we're going to talk about it a lot, I'm sure, leading up into the beginning of the season. Tennessee Titans, number 1 team on the waiver wire. Anybody that the Chiefs have, the Tennessee Titans and Mike Bergonzi are going to be interested in them. So when you get to your cut down to 53 there, the end of August, Mike Bergonzi is going to be watching the Chiefs waiver wire. And even though he might have been involved in putting, Jared Brenningstool on the draft board, because he was obviously with the Chiefs up until late January, so early February. So he could have very well been part of the scouting team that liked Briningstool in the first place and helped make him put him a fifth on the board. And just being the talent that he is and the tight style of player he is, I have to think that Borgonzi would be interested in him. So I don't know if you're going to be slipping anybody by Mike Borgonzi, because he is going to be looking at that Chiefs waiver wire intensely. So going to be tough to swing anybody past him. Let's see. Make sure I didn't miss anybody there. And Lawrence's question was next. And Lawrence, you had kind of the same question as Weston there. Chiefs are high on the Briningstool. They might not be as high as, I think maybe I am and some Chiefs fans are that really like Briningstool. I might have him as my number one player in this group, although of the undrafted free agents. Although after this weekend, Elijah Young is pressing him for that group of, and I'm just talking about the 16 undrafted free agents, and I guess 14 now that they're keeping around. But I think he would still probably be in their top three as far as the ones that they're most interested in. And obviously right now, I think he would be in their top four tight ends on this roster right now. The Chiefs are high on him. Are the Chiefs talking about him as being the next Travis Kelce? No, not that high. It's they're keeping their expectations for Briningstool are more realistic than sometimes. Hey, we all get the best of our emotions and what we project on a player and everything. The Chiefs know he's an undrafted tight end. What's the ceiling for a player like that? He's probably not going to the Hall of Fame, but can it be a good player for you? Sure, absolutely, it happens. And it's Terry with a great observation. You remember Bobby Scipio? Bobby Scipio was the greatest thing since sliced bread for training camp. And was that? Oh, gosh, I always think it's like 08 or 09, probably earlier than that. But yeah, Bobby Scipio. Adam Teicher has some great stories about the Bobby Scipio era. And I think it was like he wasn't writing enough about Bobby Scipio, and Chiefs fans were just on him. And he's just like, well, he's not very good. Bless his heart. Things can happen. You get to be a fan favorite, and it's probably, I don't know, it's probably a little bit more different now that with training camp closer to home. Back in the old days in River Falls, it was probably, especially without the internet, it was probably a little bit easier to have the hype train get out of control with fans just talking to each other and not having a whole lot to check it or put the brakes on. I don't know, maybe social media makes it even worse on some players. But yes, temper expectations as always for undrafted free agents. And I as always say, temper expectations this time of year for players catching a football, because it's really easy to catch a football when nobody is going to hit you. And we make jokes about the Chargers, being declared the champions of the AFC West every June. I remember covering the Chiefs during the Demarcus Robinson era, and every year was Demarcus Robinson. This is the breakout season for Demarcus Robinson. Still kind of waiting for that breakout season, but I still like Demarcus. He's a good dude. So, finally tuned. Will Royals go to Texas to play catch with Pat? Doesn't have to now. Pat's up here. So starting this week, the veterans are back in the building. This is phase 2. So they get to do a little bit more. But now this is when they do get back into the building. So they are in person and getting things done. The rookies, they had to leave after the mini camp yesterday. They are gone this week, and I'm trying to remember by the rules if they're allowed to come back. I think it's another week after that during which they can come back. I think they're back for a week before OTAs begin. So it's either they're back for that last week of phase 2 or like it's the first week of phase 3. But there's a kind of a cooling off period a little bit. They try to make it so every team has the same situation, because they want teams to be able to have the mini camp spread over 2 weekends, so that way players can go to one mini camp and then go to another, have 2 chances to make a team if necessary. and because of that, they don't want a team that went this past weekend like the Chiefs to have an advantage over other teams. So this week, I mean, depending on, it's the same way. I mean, if you have rookie minicamp this weekend, that's the first time that those rookies can be in your building. Your rookies can only be in the building for that 3-day minicamp for the first 2 or 3 weeks after the draft, as far as practice goes. So, and then I think that, like I said, I believe that they have like an additional week built in there that's supposed to be for players to be able to go back to school and finish up the semester, which doesn't really make a whole lot of sense to me anymore in this day and age with so many things that are online, and the fact that some schools have their semesters that end in like June and July, and there's a lot of crazy stuff that goes on, and some schools have their semesters are already over, so I'm sure, but yeah, he's not going to have to. So could he? Yes, but will he? Doesn't need to. So Pat's up here now. At least he can be. I don't know if Pat's coming up for this week or not. The work they're going to do doing is not teamwork. It's going to be a lot of individual stuff. Can he be on the field throwing to running backs and receivers and tight ends with no DBs on the field? Sure. But and Patrick, like a lot of veterans, I mean, his OTA schedule and then phase 2 schedule is kind of a little bit dependent on his off-season schedule if there's anything else that's going on. So, Nikki, thank you for the hit the like button reminder. I appreciate that. Very kind of you. Albert, are Carson Steele's days on the 53 over? I don't necessarily think so. I mean, it's going to be a tough battle. And part of it may be just, whether or not he actually fully becomes a fullback, but this is a loaded running back room now, obviously with Elijah Mitchell coming in, Kareem Hunt's still here. You draft Bashard Smith. I like Elijah Young really well. I mean, even at that group, you're looking at that and you're saying, hey, the Chiefs are probably at least one, if not two guys over. You're going to have injuries, sure. So it's pretty, I mean, that's a really appealing group to me right now. I mean, there's going to be a good running back or two that does not make this team. So we'll see what happens, but I think it's going to be a tough battle. Could he be a practice squad candidate? For sure. If the Chiefs went back to a fullback role, is he included in that? And maybe especially if the Chiefs only keep 3 tight ends, that's a scenario where I could see, Carson Steele fitting in, but I think it's going to be tough for him. So, Mike, do you guys see a scenario where the whole right side of the O-line gets red zone behind Taylor with possibly Driscoll and Pohl, Morris on the hot seat? I think I'm kind of understanding that a little bit. Sorry, Mike. Are you talking like just like okay, I guess I'm trying to, I think you're talking about just the depth chart and everything like that. I mean, I kind of alluded to that earlier. I mean, it's, what are you talking about at the tackle position? I mean, Chiefs are probably going to keep 4. Could they keep 5 and like keep 10 offensive linemen? It's possible. I mean, they've done it before. So, that barring any injuries, Jalen Moore, Jawan Taylor, and Josh Simmons are going to be on your team. Who do you have next? I mean, yeah, it's basically Ethan Driscoll, Osa Pohl, and Wanya Morris. I mean, is there anybody else that's going to kind of filter that conversation? I mean, it can always happen. I mean, you'd probably be talking about keeping 2 of those 3, 1 of those 3, definitely 2 of those 3, possibly. So, hey, if Driscoll shows a lot of improvement and Pohl can't beat him out, maybe Driscoll takes that job. If Pohl shows that he's really, really good and can beat Driscoll, maybe Pohl sticks around. Maybe they both bypass Wanya. I mean, I don't know. A lot of things could happen. So I do think that it's going to be a tough competition for those last 1 or 2 spots at that tackle spot. I know Nick is in the green room, so he will be joining us shortly. So for those of you who have been anxiously awaiting your chance to hear from Nick, it will be coming up. So don't falter on this yet. Don't leave yet, because Nick will be here very, very soon. Joe, players put on practice squad, are they protected from other players taking them? I mean, practice squad only exists once you get to the regular season, and you can build the practice squad after you put players on waivers for your cut down to 53. So, I just saw Zulu's comment. I'm finished. No more questions. And he's responding to my comment from 40 minutes ago, and I just got to it. So I just thought it was funny. Sorry, Zulu, and sorry everybody for my break. Sorry, Joe. But so you build your practice squad after that. So I mean, when players are put on waivers, anybody can claim them during that cut down. Now, once the regular season starts and once you sign your practice squad, they're not protected, but anybody can sign a practice squad player to their 53. Teams can't sign a practice squad player to their own practice squad. They can only sign them to the 53. Players don't have to. I mean, if a player likes their spot on a practice squad better than somebody else's 53, they can stay. Doesn't happen very often. And oftentimes if a team comes to, sign a player off somebody's practice squad, that original team is going to, if they want to keep the player, they're going to sign them to their 53 and promote them. I mean, the Chiefs have had situations where they've done that in the past. I want to say, I'm trying to remember. It was, I probably shouldn't throw a name out there since I don't remember who it was. It's a few years ago. The Chiefs had a player that they brought up at the end of the season that was a rookie. It was on their practice squad, and they signed him late in the season just because another team was trying to steal them. So even though, hey, I don't think that player played much at the end of the season, maybe some practice squad snaps, but you got to protect your guys. Guy I am always going to protect is Nick Jacobs.
Hello, Matt Derrick. And
Nick,
hello, the people that are kind enough to join us with questions, and to some of the haters lurking out there. And the guy you're referencing is Echo Boydo.
Good evening to all of the. Thank you very much. You are absolutely correct. And you know what? I was thinking of two guys, and he was not one of them. So I'm glad I didn't mention the name.
Yeah, no, actually, Echo was the one that they snuck up there at the end of the year. I think what the Cardinals and Browns were sniffing around.
Yeah, and
maybe the Colts. I don't remember.
And there's probably a couple of, I know there's a couple of other players that have had that same situation too that I'm just not thinking of, but it was definitely with Echo Boydo. You are absolutely 100% correct. So thank you as always for backing up my faulty memory.
No, I got nothing for you. I'm sorry. Nothing quick-witted there.
Are any opening thoughts? Anything that you want to share or comments that you have?
No, nothing I can think of.
Well, and Jesus may have clarified this. I don't know. I need to go back through the comments and see. I saved this question for you because I thought you might have a better answer for it if I'm taking it the way that I think I am, which is what are the Chiefs draft picks best play? And I'm assuming he's just talking about what they do best. So Jesus, I'm looking, if you're still around, you want to clarify that a little bit, but I was taking it as a little bit of just, what some of these guys do best. And that might be more difficult to answer for some.
Jesus, thank you for your question and welcome to the Chiefs Q&A.
And it might just be too difficult to answer. And maybe I'm taking it wrong. All these things are possible, Nick.
Well, I'm going to go on a journey here, Matt. I'm going to try to answer it.
There you go.
Jesus. In terms of the best roles for the Chiefs draft picks, for Josh Simmons, you're wanting him to be a starting left tackle once he's 100% or near 100%. And until then, you're letting him heal back up while also trying to develop him at the same front, whether it's mentally or physically. Even though he may not necessarily have the knee may not be 100% yet for all we know, but he can still punch with his hands. He can still work on his punch, getting his punch in the right spot, getting his target in the right spot. Maybe he's able to set and, bend and then also just do his punch. Maybe he doesn't do his kick step, and then you add that in down the road. But those are easily the path that you can work on with him. Omar Norman-Lott, I think, is going to be a rotational guy like Tershawn, and to fill into that Tershawn Wharton role, I think that's his primary thing. He shoots gaps really well. He's quick at shooting a gap. So I think that's going to be where a big part of his wheelhouse is on pass rushing down, so they don't have to kick Mike Dana inside. Or if they do, they have Norman Lott in, maybe rotating in for Jones to give him a little rest at times, and maybe Mike Dana's the other guy. We'll see what they end up doing. Ashton Gillotte, I think he's going to be the rotational guy for George Karlaftis' side. Like, it's going to be a Minihu and Mike Dana on the right side with Felix Anudike-Uzomah rotating in. then you've got Ashton with George on the same side, to where you don't necessarily have the drop off because George does some of the downs and then Ashton comes in and gives him rest. So you keep a steady pass rush overall, and you don't necessarily have the drop off when you take out, 2 or 3 of those guys. Then Noel Williams, I think, is going to slowly rotate in as an outside corner. I think early on that's going to be Jalen Watson and Christian Fulton's role, with Trent McDuffie as the slot corner. And then I think Noel probably has some packages early on, and maybe nickel or dime. But then long term, they start trying to see if unless there's an injury, they start trying to figure out if they can use him as an outside corner. And maybe that speeds up because he does so well in training camp. But I think he's going to be an outside corner long term. Next one on the list would be Jalen Royals, and you may want to mute.
I am trying.
Okay. So with Jalen Royals, Jalen is going to be an individual that you want. He's got 4 guys in front of him right now. So he's going to have Rice. He's going to have Rice, Hollywood, and Worthy in front of him. They're going to get most of those 3 wide receiver sets. And then Juju's going to rotate in at certain spots. So you get to slowly bring Royals along short term. Long term, you're trying to see if you can work him in for either Hollywood Brown or ideally Rice. Or if Rice is suspended, him and Juju, Royals and Juju split those rotations as kind of the inside work over the middle receiver. And you really want to see if Royals can either be a returner or gunner for you, because you need him to be the special teams guy among the receivers in that group, because the four I mentioned above that aren't going to – they're not going to be playing special teams for the most part. Jeffrey Bosa, long term, you want him to be the will replacement for Drew Tranquil. Even more long term than that, if it gets to a point where you need him to be in Nick Bolton's role, whether it's the backup for it or he can potentially be the green dot if Bolton gets hurt, then you want him to work at both those spots. He has the mental capacity to do it without a problem. And that would be, you see him as a backup Mike that could long-term potentially become the Mike, but short-term, he's behind Tranquil learning the game, and he's the will. So you have that aspect of that. The next one is, I think at this point, we're down to our final one, Bashard Smith. And Bashard Smith, he's going to be kick punt returner, and you'll have him on that front, but then you'll also have him in your passing game to where he can split out as a receiver if he needs to, but he can also work in the flats, be that Jerick McKinnon type role, be the guy that Mahomes can throw to keep favorable down and distance, run some counters, run some off tackles, run some misdirection runs, and really be able to utilize that speed. So that is what you're going to see in my book from each one of those guys and how they fit collectively as a draft class in there.
There you go. And I don't know why the video is so choppy. I'm gonna have to troubleshoot this later. But there, as you can see, is Garrick Dieter at a rookie minicamp doing some coaching of wide receivers this past week. So you get to see that. We saw that, Nick.
We did.
Working his little tail off. So there you go. Steamin' Demon with the super chat question. Steamin' Demon report said both the Chiefs and Bills were fighting over Paxton DeLaurent from Southeast Missouri. Did he make an appearance? Odds of him being a camp body. He did make a camp appearance, Nick, and I mean, it was generally pretty much the third, if I'm not mistaken, because Zach Zebrowski from Central Missouri was primarily the number 2, correct? If my memory serves correctly.
It didn't really matter. It didn't really matter.
It mattered to them, Nick.
No, I understand it mattered to them, but none of them really could routinely get into rhythm. So let me put it to you this way, Steamin' Demon, so you earn that $9.99 that you paid for. None of those guys did anything that separated themselves to where I felt you had to have them on the roster.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to take 4 quarterbacks to camp. So you've got Mahomes, you've got Gardner Minshew, you've got Bailey Zappi, and I think you still got Chris Oladokun. I didn't see anything from De Laurent or from Zabrowski that says definitely okay. Let's bring this guy to camp either over Oladokun or Bailey. But I mean, things can change, and I would expect that De Laurent's going to go to another camp this weekend. It would make sense. So I mean, I saw enough that hey, he should at least get a shot. I didn't think it was terrible. I mean, hey, he's a decent quarterback, so he's got a shot at it. But no, I didn't see anything that would say, hey, wait a minute, Chiefs need this guy over either Zappi or Oladokun. So
yeah, the words of Simon Cowell, it's a no for me.
Appreciate your question, Steam and Demon, as always, my friend. Let's see
where his place was at.
That's always the magical question. And there was even, if you saw it in my eyes when I was going over to the starred section to pull up Steam and Demon's questions, you could probably even see the terror in my eye as I was like, wait a minute, what time was I? And now we've got Scott.
Yeah, pull up Scott. I'll take care of that.
With the super chat, can you please explain what the difference is between a Will, a Mike, and Sam linebackers are? I am not clear. Absolutely, Nick. The floor is yours.
All right, so Scott and Matt, you can find this question while it's going on if you want. It buys you time. For a Will, that just stands for a weak side linebacker. So they're away from the tight end formation that's called the strong side. So they're on the opposite side of where the tight end typically is if there's only one tight end out there. So they're called the Will for a weak side linebacker. Will linebackers are normally lighter. They're between 230 in C-Spagnuolo's scheme, especially they're really more kind of 220, 230, 235 range. You really don't see guys that are in their 240 range playing Will linebacker. The Mike linebacker is the middle linebacker. So that is what that's called. And the Mike linebacker is typically the one who calls the plays, adjusts the plays, is the audible. They're a physical run stuffing linebacker from tackle to tackle. Typically, in most defensive schemes outside of Steve Spagnuolo's, your Mike linebacker is one of your most athletic ones that can go sideline to sideline. So think of Derrick Johnson. Derrick Johnson's would be a perfect Mike linebacker because he's in the 240 range. Earlier in his career, he was big enough to be able to take the wear and tear of the league, but also the key thing for a Mike linebacker is if your defensive tackles do a good job, they keep them clean of any blocks. They don't have to fight off any blocks. They get to flow, read, and attack the gap that they're supposed to. So that's kind of the skill set on that front. And then a Sam linebacker is the strong side. Typically, they try to be on the tight end side. They typically are more, if a tight end is on their side, they typically are a little bit more up to the line of scrimmage. And your Sam linebacker is Leo Chenal with the Chiefs right now. And they are the ones who you really need to be probably 240 to 250 range if you can. And they're the ones that take on the blocks, try to help shut down part of the edge with the defensive end, and really try to discourage teams from running the ball off tackle or running halfback blast or running to that side. So those more than anything else are typically what that is on that front. So there should be all the linebacker breakdown for you there, Scott.
And teams can call them all sorts of different things. So
what else have you heard them called?
Well, I mean, some teams do different differentiations of their linebackers, whether they're, even if they're just, Sam, Will, and Mike's. I mean, some teams have the Joker, and some teams have the, and some colleges even have completely made up names for them. So always that can get to be a little bit more confusing. But that was an excellent explanation. Thank you. I found out where we were. Doctor Who, what are the odds that a Kelsey and a Mahomes are playing for the Chiefs in 20 years? I mean, you might make it 25, just unless there's something about Travis that he and I don't. Well, he hasn't told us, or I don't know about him. It might need to be 25 years. But I mean, I think it's probably pretty slim because, I mean, bless their hearts. I mean, whoever are well, whoever. I mean, I know. Well, I don't know them. I haven't met Patrick's children, but one would imagine that both of their children are going to have a lot of money and certainly probably wouldn't need to play football. And I mean, even like family dynasties, like the Mannings and everything like that. Well, Archie Manning didn't play when he made any money.
Mm-hmm.
Archie Manning didn't have hundreds of millions of dollars at his disposal.
Yeah. I don't know what to tell you, Doctor Who. Travis Kelce currently doesn't have any children
that we know of.
Travis Kelce currently doesn't have any children, and
that was the journalist in me. Hey, you're talking about crimes. It has to be alleged.
Travis Kelce doesn't have any children, and Patrick Mahomes, obviously he's got his 3 kids, and I guess we'll just see what happens in 20 years if it gets to that point.
There you go. Okay, Karate Kid. With the additions in the offense the Chiefs have to think, will they be better on offense this year? I mean, I have to think that. I mean, part of it's that. I mean, obviously, part of it's that they have to stay healthy too.
I mean, you hope you're seeing improvement at left tackle that gives Patrick Mahomes confidence to push it downfield and be able to survey the field if he needs to and not have to make quick reads and take off scrambling. So you hope that's fixed. You hope Bashard Smith or Elijah Mitchell can be more explosive runners, whether they run their stretch zone stuff or whether they're in the flats catching passes or running back screens. You're hoping that's better on that front, and you're hoping Rice can get back to 100% to where he can be the reliable receiver that the Chiefs really needed at times last year to kind of run part of their offense through him with beating zone coverage.
There you go. John, what's the Chiefs' biggest position of need? Where are the Chiefs weak right now?
Go for it, Matt. Well, go for it, Matt.
I mean, I don't think they're in a terrible spot right now. I mean, if I still have probably some soft questions on the defensive line, even though I frankly, there were some things I saw at this rookie minicamp that I liked. And if they were, maybe they signed a guy from the tryout guy players, I might even feel better about that. Although, again, I mean, that's a huge leap of faith to think that that's going to be somebody that helps you out as a rookie. But depth-wise, I still think that you could look at it and see the defensive line, maybe especially defensive tackle, is a place where they could use a veteran. I think you've got enough bodies to compete for your spots at corner. I got no problems with where they are at safety. I think they've got enough bodies to compete, and I really like Jeff Bosa. So I think that linebacker-wise, I think they're in a really good spot. I mean, they're gonna probably end up, releasing a really good running back. Do they need any more wide receivers for depth? Maybe, but I just don't. I mean, once again, we go back to, if you got 7 receivers, I mean, is that the right way to go? I mean, I think that the Chiefs have the receivers that they need. They just need them to stay healthy more than anything. I mean, I don't think you're going to significantly improve the offensive line at this point. So I don't know that there's anything that you can really do other than maybe wave some magic wands. But I don't know. I mean, I can't really necessarily say I see an area other than defensive line where you might feel like that you need some more help. Now, where are the Chiefs weakest? I mean, until proven otherwise, I'm still going to say left tackle, because you just don't know what you have there.
Biggest positions in need: running back. More.
You want more running backs?
Add more running backs. Add more. Bring in another one. Well, then, yeah, I think if you can find a veteran defensive tackle, I would do that as well. Whether that's an additional 3 tech that rotates in, or a 1 tech that gives Fabian Lovett and Mike Pennell another person to rotate with and compete against, then I would do that. But outside of that, your team, for the most part, set it who they're going to be, primarily on the 53.
And John, you had a second question that I'm not sure I understand. So from 8 o'clock, why does the national meeting? I think it cut off before you got the rest of the question out there. So if you want to finalize that question, I will be glad to answer it later. So feel free to add that back if you're still around. Scott, with Bashard Smith's electric running skills, does Nico Remigio make the team? And I don't even think it's even just Bashard, because I mean the Chiefs drafted like 3 guys who've returned kicks and punts in college.
Like, I mean, the 6 receiver is gonna be that's where the battle's happening right now among the receivers. Who's the 6th receiver? Is there a 7th? My guess is they're gonna be 6, and at 6th person, you're debating between Nico Remigio, Justin Ross, Elijah Badger, and so on from there. So, like, Thornton, Brownlee, I mean, you just keep going on and on. But at the end of the day, like, I mean, Holiday, they just signed every single one of those guys. Like, it's all battling for a 6th spot. And then whoever doesn't get that 6th spot, did you show enough that can put you on a practice squad if you didn't get snatched up by the Titans, Bears, or maybe the Bills, potentially?
I mean, Bashard returned kicks. I know Jalen Royals returned kicks last year. I feel like Noel Williams also returned kicks. I just don't remember if he returned punts in the past. I mean, they have a few options. I mean, and Nico, the benefit that obviously he's got is that he's done it. He's done it reasonably well, and he was reliable. I mean, he didn't make a lot of mistakes. He's got good hands. Knowles returned a lot of kicks, not that many punts. So that might be the one thing that in this draft class that they're missing. It doesn't mean that one of them can't step up and learn kicks, but then again, I mean, we do have the conversation from a few years ago what was it that Dave Tobe said, that Trent McDuffie was probably their best punt return on the team, but there was not a chance in the world that they would put it back to return punts. Right. So, it could be that, there's 1 or 2 of these guys that they just won't even include in that conversation. So, John, your question, did BJ Thompson get signed back? He is back with the club. He cleared waivers today. So what that means is that he reverts back to the team on the non-football illness list. So he is with the Chiefs, not on the roster, doesn't count towards the 90-player limit, but back under the team's control. And obviously for that, he'll continue to do his rehab, working with the Chiefs and everything. So worked out just exactly as the Chiefs envisioned. So he is back with the club. Alex, do you think it's weird to not put sour cream on your baked potato? I think it's weird if you don't. I mean, that's a really good question, Nick. I'm not going to lie. Thoughts?
You do what feels right in your heart. It's not I don't have a passion for it either way.
Do you put sour cream on a baked potato?
Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. I'm not going to tell you.
Wow, that's why be so secret about the baked potato, Nick? What if I have you over sometime? I want to know if I should have sour cream for you for your baked potato.
I like to keep people guessing.
I thought you were going to say I'm never coming over to your house, Matt, but the fact that you didn't actually leaves that possibility open.
I'm not going to be rude.
I will say this, Alex. I don't add sour cream to baked potatoes, but I won't take sour cream off if it's on there. So if I'm at a restaurant and I order a baked potato and it comes with sour cream, it comes with sour cream. But if I make baked potatoes at home, I don't put sour cream on them. Just saying. But butter, Nikki, butter or sour cream, I will put butter on my baked potato all day long. And then, I mean, there's times at home that I will put butter on my baked potato. And then when I'm like halfway through, I'll put more butter on.
Have you ever put butter on a Pop-Tart?
I have not, but I'm aware of people who do.
Yeah, it's a song in Family Guy.
That's where I've heard it before. There you go. Am I the only one that eats, I mean, I don't know what the word for it is, raw Pop-Tarts? Because I will eat Pop-Tarts without putting them in a toaster or microwave. Is that weird?
I'm not judging you. You do. It feels right in your heart.
No, you're very open about those things. I mean, you accept all types in the tent. I appreciate that about you.
Okay.
It's a judgment-free zone here.
When it comes to food, sure.
You do you. When it comes to offensive line coaching and protection, it is not as much of a free zone.
I like to see a guy who's making $500 million stay upright. I'm crazy like that.
If Doctor Who, if Coach Mike Ditka had been the Chiefs head coach in the 80s, how many Super Bowls would they have won? I say 6 or 7 at least. I'm going to probably say 0, Nick.
I don't know if they ever would have had a quarterback.
That's the problem. They never had a quarterback in the 80s that could win a Super Bowl.
Because they already had a good defense. I'm talking late 80s, so I mean they already had the foundation of a good defense. So
yeah, I mean, I grew up watching Bill Kenny. Bill Kenny was a cool dude. I don't know if Bill Kenny's taken to a Super Bowl.
yeah.
I mean, and that was the problem. And I'll be honest with Marty. Marty Schottenheimer won an unreasonable number of games for the quarterbacks that he had. Because, I mean, the best quarterback he had was Joe Montana. And Joe Montana was a shell of himself. I mean, he wasn't the same guy anymore. And got him one game away from Super Bowl. Marty Schottenheimer won games with Elvis Gerbach at quarterback.
You know who Marty could have won games with?
Who?
Rich Gannon.
Well, that's the one mistake. Yes. And Rich Gannon obviously did go to a Super Bowl. So he could have taken you to a Super Bowl.
Twice. Could have taken you Super Bowl twice.
Yeah.
Not just once, but twice.
Not just once, but twice. But considering that, Dave Craig had the world's smallest hands, I mean, won games with Dave Craig. And Steve DeBerg, I love Steve DeBerg growing up because Steve DeBerg was just, the master of play action. But Steve DeBerg was also 185 years old.
Oh, I don't think he was.
You might have to check me on that, but
I don't have to. I know that's not the case.
Brandon, what does Chris Oladokun have to do?
Turned 71 this year.
That actually surprisingly young.
Yeah, Matt.
That means that 30 years ago he would have been 41, and that would have been 1995. But it's, you know what, Nick? It's not the years; it's the miles. And Steve DeBerg, Steve DeBerg went around and he was the starting quarterback for every team, it seemed like, with a young starting quarterback that just needed a veteran to hang around for a while and get his butt kicked until the rookie was ready. And as a result, Steve DeBerg got the ever-living snot knocked out of him for about 10 years.
We all have our roles in life.
And he played before Joe Montana. He played before, I'm blanking out a bunch of other people. I'm trying to remember. There was a quarterback that he started in front of. That guy did not become a star. And then DeBerg came back again. And he said, well, everybody I start in front of eventually becomes a star. And I want to say might have been Testaverde. And he said, this guy didn't. So I'm back again until he becomes a star. Okay. Anyway, Brandon wants to know what Chris Oladokun has to do to make the 53.
I guess it's be better than Bailey Zappi.
Bailey Zappi might not make the 53. They're only going to probably keep two quarterbacks on the 53.
Maybe not. We'll find out. Because there's a guy lurking in Tennessee just waiting.
I mentioned that literally a few moments before you popped in. That Mike Bergonzi is going to be scouring the waiver wire for Chiefs.
He didn't have to scour. He's just like, all right, let me know when Kansas City makes their cuts. It's like that one.
I'll take that guy, that guy, that guy. I'm unabashedly a Chris Oladokun fan, mostly because I just think he's a good dude. He works hard. Is he NFL starting quarterback material? I don't know because we haven't seen it yet, but haven't seen him get his really chance. But he's, like I said, he's a good dude. I'm rooting for him because he's paid his dues. I just don't know if he's ever going to get a shot or if he's good enough to get a shot. We'll see. Maybe we'll find out one day. Clinton, old punt god, has a battle on his hands. Prediction on Eddie, and I'm still assuming it's Eddie Zaplicki taking the job. I mean, he was kicking with a pretty ferocious wind this weekend, Nick, but at least when we got to see him on Saturday, he's got a big leg.
Yeah, you were pretty enamored with it. That's for sure.
I mean, he was kicking the ball a long way. And like I said, I mean, I know there was some wind, but the ball was going a long way.
How did he do holding?
We really didn't get to see
exactly, Matt.
We didn't see it. I mean, we got to see
he can hold like a champ. It doesn't matter.
We got to see him working under the watchful eye of Dave Tobe, but they were for non-kicks. It was just snap, hold, kicker would pretend to kick and not kick. So you're right. It won't matter until the pads come on, Nick, because until you have to hold a kick with a bunch of people, coming at you, you don't know. We don't know what you got.
Well, if he can't do it whenever they're not running at him, then that already answers your question. So you could find
It's a fair point. Yes. Kel, does Bashard Smith have any similarities to Jerick McKinnon? How do you believe Smith will be used?
In terms of Smith, how he'll be used, already answered that one. I know they asked this question before, so that one we can go past. I think he's faster than Jerick McKinnon. I think he's a little bit smoother of an athlete than what Jerick McKinnon was with Kansas City, but that's to be expected since McKinnon had a couple injuries before he got to Kansas City, including, I believe, an ACL tear at one point. So, I think Bashard Smith's going to be fast. I think he's going to be able to cut and go and make some moves. I think he'll be a little bit quicker than what McKinnon was, but I think he's in a little bit similar skill set as a pass catcher, but I think Smith will be a different runner than what the Chiefs have had on their roster.
Yeah, he's a little bit bigger than McKinnon too. So I think that's a difference. I mean, I think I get the comparison because there's a inclination that with the skill set that Bashard Smith could be a third down back, but we don't know if he can block. But then again, to your point, Nick, that you've made many, many times, which is that, what would be a really good idea on your third down back is that instead of having them block would be that you throw the ball to them.
Mm-hmm.
So
they want to bring the blitz, throw it to the back. You're done. Thanks for blitzing. Wide open space. Enjoy.
Exactly. John, was there an undrafted free agent or camp invite who didn't get signed that should have got signed?
I think we'll see over the next day or two. If some of the guys we mentioned on 41 is the mic, if they end up getting signed or not, because obviously I'm gonna pull up the roster. I'm waiting to see if Keyshawn Smith, if he gets signed. He was a rookie wide receiver tryout out of SMU, and then I'm waiting to see obviously the defensive lineman Nate Matlack from originally from Pittsburgh, but from the Olathe area, and he was at K-State at one point. If the Chiefs sign any of those guys, those are the other two guys I'm kind of waiting to see if the Chiefs bring them in as to the 90-man roster or not.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we were both on the same page on Keyshawn Smith, and sometimes there are players that the Chiefs might be interested in that have another minicamp invite this weekend and might want to just see how that goes and plays out before they make a decision. I believe that the Steelers are having Nate Matlack in on their minicamp this weekend, Nick, and that's the dream scenario if you're that kid. I mean, you've got your hometown team that ask you in the minicamp one weekend. You got the team in the city where you went to college the second weekend. So that can absolutely be the case. And I've been told too, Nick, that the Chiefs made a couple of signings. What was it? The linebacker Cooper McDonald, the deep safety Major Williams. And I'm temporarily forgetting on the third guy. I've had too many names going through my head this week, Nick. You probably remember. The wide receiver Jimmy Holiday was the third one that the Chiefs have signed. There's an inclination because this is the first week that the veterans are in the building that I've been told the Chiefs do want to see where some of their veterans are in regards to maybe signing some additional rookie minicamp guys. So remember, there's a lot of players that the Chiefs have signed this offseason that they have not had in the building yet since they have been working virtually. So they'll want to see them maybe this week and next week, what they've got, before making a decision on maybe some other players. So as you said, things can still happen over the next couple of weeks. Mitchell, KC signed wide receiver Jimmy Holiday from rookie camp, which I could have seen it right there if I just looked at Mitchell's question, Nick. Did I hear you mention him on your podcast? Don't remember that. What did you think of him? I mean, we noticed him, Nick. We did see him. There were just some other receivers that I thought made a lot more plays, but he wasn't a bad receiver either.
Yeah, so like Keyshawn Martin was much more consistent. Had a lot more passes on his way. I mean, Holiday is kind of a quick. I'm trying to figure out how to say this in a nice way. He's quick, but his stature is a little bit different height-wise than some other people. So, because he's at 6'1". Okay. So I've got him confused with that other receiver that we.
Oh yeah, I think I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, I got him confused with Christian Dremel. That was 5'9".
Okay. Yes.
So yeah, Holiday from Louisville, 6'1", 211. Okay. Yeah, I mean, Holiday just didn't really flash for me personally, but that's because Royals and Martin were getting most of the throws when it wasn't occasionally Badger. So yeah, I mean the Chiefs
Smith, not Martin. Yeah, Smith. Keyshawn Smith, right?
Yeah, Keyshawn Smith.
There's 77 dudes in camp, Nick. I didn't get to see all of them. I mean, I can't keep track of these guys. Case in point, I couldn't remember Jimmy Holiday.
I just hope you don't forget Money Parks. Okay.
Should I go off on that rant for 5 seconds?
If it's only 5, sure.
Okay. I mean, I'm just saying, if you're, and I love Chiefs PR. This is not a slam on Chiefs PR whatsoever. If anything, I mean this towards the players, because if you go to a rookie minicamp, no one has a nickname at a rookie minicamp, and if you're telling people that you have a nickname that they should put, I mean, I don't know who is responsible for it, Nick, but and especially if you are a minicamp invite, you are not worthy of a nickname yet. You are not entitled to that. So the fact that there was a guy on the roster that was going by Money, I mean, unless that is his given name, you can't call yourself Money at a rookie minicamp.
And I believe you got a response when you stated those things. It seems like you might be ignoring right now.
Is there a response? Oh, is Money in the comments?
No, not in the comments. Like literally on the practice field when you brought it up.
I don't remember there being a response.
Yeah, it was just the list of the scouting department. So,
well, okay, I may have missed that part of it. So,
how did you miss it when you were the one having the conversation and I'm watching the practice?
Probably because I was just still talking myself and not paying attention to anybody else. The only thing I remember hearing was the comment from somebody that said that nobody has any names until they make the roster. So there you go. Okay, we are ready to move on. And I just want, Brandon says he eat raw Pop-Tarts. So I feel seen.
Are they raw though? Because they're already made.
Well, that's the thing. I don't know if you call them raw.
It's not like you're heating them up until they're well done, so you don't get salmonella or anything like that.
It's not like they're cookie dough, which I also eat raw, and I don't care if it's homemade with eggs and everything or like out of the grocery store. I mean, I have eaten. I will absolutely say this without a doubt. I have eaten more raw cookie dough from the grocery store than I have eaten cookies made from cookie dough made at the grocery store.
Like the thing I want to say right now, and that's in my head, I can't.
Are you sure?
I promise.
Okay.
I still got to keep my journalism hat on.
Oh, now I can't wait to call you after this thing is over and find out.
I'm sorry, my phone is dead.
Alex, how come Warren Moon didn't start for the Chiefs in 1999? I was only 7 years old at that time, but remember he was on the roster. Was he still around at that point? He probably was.
He was also 42.
Well, that doesn't matter. It was Warren freaking Moon.
Because if I remember correctly, 1999, like it was kind of that final thing where they kept signing. If I remember correct, I can't remember if that's when they traded for Chester.
Yeah, he was. He played in
Yeah,
one
no,
game.
I remember Warren because everybody was really excited about Warren back then. But I mean, if I remember correctly, it was Elvis Gerbach was still going to be the quarterback either way that year because that was during Gunther's year. But I mean, that roster it had a lot of guys who were having some, they had some extracurricular activities that weren't helping them.
Yeah. That team had, as I think it was Herm Edwards said, had too many my guys. But yeah, Warren was 43.
Or legal troubles in general.
Well, that's what my guy was. My guy was, a guy.
I see a my guy is selfish. I see somebody with legal trouble.
No. Well,
Different thing.
Herm Edwards always said that my guy was, a guy that you had to have a coach or somebody responsible for. So it was like, hey, he's a my guy. That means like Herm Edwards was in charge of making sure that guy didn't get arrested or in trouble or anything.
Yeah, they had too many guys roster for that.
And yeah, 99 and 2000, they had way too many my guys.
He would have to have a full additional staff for a lot of that.
Yeah, they had exactly. I mean, at some point, my guys outnumbered the number of coaches and staffers that they had.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, I would have, now that I'm looking at it, I would have sworn that Warren Moon played more than 3 games for the Chiefs and started more than 1.
Mm-mm.
He played 3 games and started 1 in 2 years. And he was 43 and 44 in those seasons. I could have sworn that it was a lot more than that. I mean, not a ton more, but more.
You're thinking of his preseason games because that's where he got most of his work.
Maybe those are what's standing out to me, but man, there you go, Alex. I mean, I would have started Warren Moon over Elvis Gerbach, but
dude, oh man, I'm just looking at the names on the roster.
I'm amazed that Paul didn't know they still had Pop-Tarts. And I will add a side note to this, not that we really need to be completely derailed by breakfast foods and things of this nature, but I am someone who I don't really differentiate too much between generic and the brand name foods. I mean, if anything, when it comes to like the Cocoa Krispies, I like the generic just as well, and in some cases better than the brand name. Stuffing, I don't care. I will eat it. I mean, there's many foods that I do not differentiate. However, the difference between brand name Pop-Tarts, Kellogg Pop-Tarts, and generic Pop-Tarts is astronomical. I will not if you feed me a generic Pop-Tart, you are telling me that you hate me. So
all right.
I find that I take that as an offense if you were to feed me a generic Pop-Tart. Those things are terrible.
All right. Well, I will get a big old box of them for you.
That is my one area, Nick, where I am not I guess as opening and as I could be.
Okay.
All right, I see one more question, so I guess we got last call here, Nick. Unless you want to talk about Steve DeBerg more, which we could.
I do not.
Haley, I know during the presser, some players mentioned another player reaching out to them and said no one had. Why don't the leaders on the team reach out after someone is drafted? I mean, I haven't talked to anybody specifically about it, but I guess I can theorize a couple. Nick, do you have any theories?
Let me reread the question because I saw my niece join the chat.
Excellent. Oh, I see that now. Hi, Madison.
All right, now I gotta go back to.
Good to see Madison. Thank you.
Hi, Maddie McMadison. Hi, Maddie McMadison. Tell Calypso I said hi. That's her dog.
There you go.
My mom might be watching too at this point. Who knows? All right. So I get. Yeah. Okay. Now the question's big. Sorry.
I mean,
you're assuming that they didn't.
Well, and some players said they hadn't talked to anybody, and what was it? Was it Omar Norman Lott or Ashton that said that Malik Herring reached out to them?
I don't remember. I know one of them said his name, but I mean, we didn't necessarily. If I remember correctly, we didn't ask every single player.
Correct.
And also, it could be such a whirlwind for that player that they either got to call or text from somebody and they just don't remember it in that moment because of how overwhelmed they are with just getting off the field from walkthrough and learning what they're going to be doing for the next handful of months in terms of structure. And because Andy does a really good job trying to structure it like what they're going to experience whenever practices roll around for OTAs and training camp and regular season. So I'm sure some of the players, if they have time, they do. But I mean, they'll see him in the locker room at some point. So, and doesn't necessarily have to, doesn't have to happen in that very moment or in that first week or anything.
And I mean, let's face it, probably 999 times out of 1,000, I mean, they probably need somebody else to give them the number. So whether it's somebody with the team or, if they share the same agency, I mean, that could be a possibility, or they have like former teammates in common that they know. I mean, chances are that a current player on the Chiefs certainly does not usually have the phone number for a player that's been drafted. I mean, they'd have to get it from somebody else. So you're right, and we didn't hear from everybody. So it could be that maybe the couple of players we didn't ask maybe heard from like 20 people. We don't know. So, but yeah, I mean, some of it too, Haley, is that I remember. I mean, especially this is unique for the Chiefs because once again we talked about the fact that the Chiefs, have been doing everything remotely. So players aren't at home. They're not in Kansas City. They're not doing those things. They might be a lot of places right now. They might not be keeping tabs that much. They might even not know who the team drafted in a couple of instances, and they know they're going to see them pretty soon once they get into the building and everything. So it might be just if they don't respond, and they also probably remember too how they got overwhelmed after the draft with text messages. So I'm sure there's a couple of players who are like, I'm not going to bother this player right now because I remember it happening to me, and I don't remember either one talking to a teammate, or maybe it was just that there was so much going on that you just don't want to overwhelm somebody else. So it doesn't bother that would not bother me at all. So,
and don't worry, maybe they'll be introduced on the team Zoom meetings.
Exactly. Who, John, does Justin Tucker make the Hall of Fame? Will he kick again? It's going to be an interesting one.
I have no idea. That just happened within the past day. So
yeah,
you got to let all that stuff resolve itself in whatever way that's going to be.
I mean, on the one hand, I'll say he's probably not going to kick again, mostly because he just showed signs last year of not being able to kick at that level anymore. So that's going to make things really difficult for him.
Well, he may have had some off the field issues that were distracting him in his head as well.
Well, that's not going to get any better.
No, but that's my point. Is like maybe that was in his head, and that helped lead to some of that performance.
How old is he now? He's 35. Well, I mean, is it theoretically that in 2 or 3 years he could be a good kicker again? Maybe. But the Hall of Fame question is going to be interesting because, and I don't know if you want to be a part of it, Nick. I mean, I always said that sometime during this summer, in between OTAs and training camp, I was going to go off on the Hall of Fame and the voting process and selection process for NFL awards and the Hall of Fame. If you don't want to be a part of that, you don't have to.
Do what? What you talking about?
I had said when they came out with the Hall of Fame voting and with the NFL awards, I had many rants back then, and I said, hey, during the summer, during the off season, I am just going to do a rant on how I would fix all of this. But you may not want to be associated with my rant.
Well, that sounds like a perfect time where you're on the Q&A by yourself to do
that. What Nick is telling us is that it's not an appropriate topic for 41 is the mic. So I'm cool with that.
No, I'm saying you have this forum to do whatever you want right here. Well, anything you want.
I know.
Like if you want to put butter on a Pop-Tart, you can. If you want to put sour cream on a baked potato while you're talking to people and answering their questions, guess what? You can. You can do it all, Matt. You can do it all in this live Q&A, and people will see it in real time. They don't have to wait.
I do like this comment here that if a player does not have a player's number, they can get it from the Falcons. or maybe their defensive coordinator.
You got John. You got to throw Johns up there.
About Gannon?
Yeah.
Gannon never won a Super Bowl. Hindsight is 2020. And at the point he was the Chiefs quarterback, he was a career journeyman. So easy to continue to hang this on Marty even to this day, but short-sighted.
So my rebuttal to this is from having actually talked to players that were on that team. Gannon had already won over that locker room, and Gannon was liked by that team. So you may view him as a journeyman, and that's fine, but that locker room didn't view him as that because he had earned their respect. And he was efficient and effective in that offense, in the West Coast offense, and the way he ran it. And that's why the Raiders went and signed him, because he fit perfectly in the West Coast offense that the Chiefs were already running, and he did it better because he had better coaching. So on that front, I understand what you're saying in terms of a title, but Elvis Grbac had notoriously already, if I remember correctly at that point, he'd already had that press conference where he said he can't throw and catch it after Monday night. That's if he hadn't already lost the locker room before then, he lost it by then. So at that point, you just might as well pack up the circus tent and head on out back to San Francisco, wherever the heck you were from in the off season. But Carl was going to continue to not admit the mistake, and Carl was going to continue to use him as their quarterback, and they let the better quarterback leave to go to the Raiders, and it cost them both times. So, and part of that's the reason Patrick Mahomes is here to this day. It's part of the reason Andy Reid's here. It's part of the reason Patrick Mahomes is here. Because say that hypothetically the Chiefs win a Super Bowl during that time. Maybe they're not as hungry, they aren't as desperate to make the splash move that they need to make to be able to get back to the Super Bowl, because Marty was able to take them and maybe even win them a couple different times. So especially with how awesome those defenses were back then. So, everything we had to cling on for the most part was that 1993 AFC Championship game against the Bills. Yes, it was technically played in 1994, but it's considered a 93 season. And everybody, that's what everybody is like, man, I just hope they can get back to an AFC Championship like that year of Montana. And then that's all everybody kept hoping. And then Patrick Mahomes came along and did what he did against the Patriots. And then the next year, boom, Super Bowl win. And everything changed forever for this franchise because of that. So, yeah, some of those failures helped make this happen.
That is very true. And
I got a sneaky suspicion Marty also wanted to start Gannon, but since he didn't have final say, somebody else did. Maybe somebody told me that too. That would know.
I had not been told the second part, but I do know about the first part, that I've had players who were on that team who said that that when Grbac started that playoff game instead of Gannon, that lost the locker room.
Yup.
And a lot of bad things happened after that. That was kind of the beginning of the end.
And then they got more and more desperate with their roster moves.
Yeah. And I'm looking back at it now and remembering that I had forgotten that Grbac went to Baltimore the year after they won the Super Bowl.
Yep.
With Trent Dilfer, let's remember.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Trent Dilfer won, I think it was 11-1, including the playoffs that season, as a starting quarterback. Trent freaking Dilfer. And they were 8-6 the next year with Elvis Grbac, and they were 2-0 that year with Randall Cunningham as their starting quarterback. And Randall at that point was basically Rich Gannon, but yeah. And
then Elvis Grbac got to be on Hard Knocks that year, the first one ever, if I remember correctly.
I'm looking at that. Let's see. Was that the year? This was, I guess, the next year, which was the true beginning of the end, the 98 season, when so it would have been Rich Gannon's last year in Kansas City and replaced Grbac. Gosh, his numbers were just so much better than Gerbach's. It's not even crazy, not even funny. Yeah. Even the year that, yeah.
Sorry, I was thinking about the story I told why Greg Hill started over Marcus Allen multiple times under Marty. Anyways, not telling that one, but
I'm still trying to figure out why Jamal Charles was the number 2 running back on the 2008 or 9 Chiefs.
what talking about? 08 would have been his rookie. That would have been his rookie year. That would have been his rookie year, and he had fumbling issues back then.
No, yeah, it was not that year. Then it was the next year. Right?
Yeah, Todd Haley was doing the tough love thing with Jamal and Derrick Johnson, and wanted them to play and work at a certain level before he put them out on the football field.
Oh,
so
it wasn't Jamal even that. No, it was 2010. 2010 is the year I'm thinking of, when Jamal started 6 games. Thomas Jones started 10.
Yeah.
Thomas Jones got 245 carries to Jamal Charles's 230.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That's an interesting coaching decision.
Todd's going to Todd.
I mean, considering that team ran the ball with those 2 guys 475 times, I mean, no, you're not going to give the ball to Jamal Charles 475 times. But you might at least give the ball to Jamal Charles as many times, if not many, many more times than you give it to Thomas Jones.
So, Charlie, what you're talking about is 09. You're talking about the final game in 09 in Denver when Jamal ran for almost nearly 300, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, and that would probably be like a good reason that the next season you would give him the lion's share of the carries. But
no, Todd was always. I still remember that press conference with Todd whenever, people like to ask about the depth chart back then. The depth chart was big and everything, and Todd, he had LaRon McClain as the number 1 running back at that point, from Baltimore Ravens, and like the guys, beat writers are asking about it and everything, and then Todd's like, "You guys," he said, if I put LaRon McClain, he said something along the lines of, he said somebody's name, and I'm just gonna use it. He's like, if I put LaRon McClain as the number 1 running back, you guys lose your minds. And then he took a drink of his 7th Diet Coke for the day. man loved the Diet Coke. You never met a Diet Coke that he.
That's what I have heard, that the man loved his Diet Coke. Yeah. Almost as much as
he also enjoyed showing up normally an hour late to press conference.
That's what I was going to say. The only thing he enjoyed more than his Diet Coke was showing up late.
Not just late, but I would have already set up and been sitting there for a good hour and 10 minutes, and then Todd finally wanders into the press conference. And those are my early years of covering the Chiefs. First time I ever got to cover the Chiefs was 2004 as an intern. I got to go in the locker room. Chiefs had just played the Broncos on Monday Night Football that week before, and John Lynch laid out Dante Hall. And so, and just watching Willie Roaf walk across that room, man, I don't know how he did it. That dude's knees were shot at that point. But I digress. But yeah, so I've been around the Chiefs franchise a time or two.
All right, I think we got 2 questions left. I'll go with the non-football question first. Jesus, Danish pancakes or buttermilk pancakes? I'm not gonna lie, I don't know that I know what Danish pancakes are.
Is
that look this up?
Danish pancakes? Is he just talking about the crepes? Okay, so Jamal in that final game, well, you looked that up. The Chiefs won 44-24. Jamal had 25 carries, 259 yards, 2 TDs, and one of his runs was for 56 yards. Yeah, and that was actually, he was tied for the most carries he got all year. I still remember the kick return he had for a touchdown against the Steelers. Todd put everything. I still remember that game, November 22nd, 2009. Like, Todd put everything he had into winning that Pittsburgh Steelers game just because of his dad having been a scout there and how much Todd idolized the Pittsburgh Steelers. And he was so desperate to win that game, he literally threw the kitchen sink out there if it was going to work and tripped somebody up. And that was when Andy Studebaker had that interception. And I can't remember if he took it back for a pick six or the joke was the Studebaker ran out of gas before it got to the end zone, since that was a famous car as well.
Apparently, Danish pancakes are spherical Danish snacks made from fried batter. The crust is similar in texture to European pancakes, but with a light, fluffy interior similar to Yorkshire pudding. I mean, based on just hearing fried batter, I would definitely try them, Jesus. I mean, there's no doubt about it. I mean, having not had them before, and the fact that, I mean, buttermilk pancakes to me, and all pancakes of that form, even if you don't have buttermilk in them, I mean, you might have milk, you might have butter. I mean, there's different things. You know, my family, it was a lot of cooking oil too. So, I mean, there's some different, but buttermilk pancakes are one of my favorite foods on the planet, especially. But here's the real question for you folks. Who else puts peanut butter on their pancakes? Because that's what my family does. And it's amazing. And I have run into many, many people who think that we're crazy for doing this, which I don't know what makes a whole lot of sense, because peanut butter makes most things more awesome. Not everything, but most things.
Unless you have allergies, it doesn't make anything awesome.
Well, and perfectly understandable. That's also another reason I would understand it.
The guy who was coming after me about how we need to use the word allegedly was out here just ignoring all the people with peanut allergies.
Wasn't ignoring them, and I mean, I understand, because I have nut allergies, and then of course I always have to explain. People were like, well, why do you like peanut butter? Peanuts are not nuts. They are legumes. So they have much more in common with green beans than they do with nuts, but that's a whole other topic. But my family will take a jar of peanut butter with them out to breakfast in a restaurant, because especially back in the day. I mean, my family would like take a jar of peanut butter to Denny's because they want to be able to put peanut butter on their pancakes. So that's what I will say. So I'm saying yes to the buttermilk pancakes. I am not turning down Danish pancakes, Jesus. So if somebody offers them to me, I'm absolutely trying them. So, because fried batter, yes, I will try that. Mitchell, I feel like every KC drafted player should get significant playing time, if not start. Which do you agree on? You're thinking very hard, as I am too.
No, I already answered on Steven St. John's show this morning. So just go to there.
Well, fine. Make us go somewhere else to get that.
That's fine. Don't worry. The haters in the comment will make sure.
Well,
let you know. Plus, it's almost 9:30, so I need to. This is my exit ramp.
Well, this is pretty much the last question. So my answer. I mean, there's part of me that really wants Bashard Smith to start, but I understand it may not happen. But I also want him to get significant playing time. I'm not sure that he will, but I would do that. I have, as I alluded to earlier, I have modest expectations for Jalen Royals, because, I mean, it's a 4th round pick. You can't expect 1st round expectations out of a 4th round pick. So if you're expecting Xavier Worthy and Rashee Rice, chances are you're going to be disappointed. You probably need to expect Chris Conley or Jamarcus Robinson, which their first years, and Jamarcus Robinson was a 4th round pick and he didn't catch a pass all season. So Jalen, and let's face it, I mean, Jalen Royals is playing a lot. It's because you got 3 guys hurt, or a couple of guys hurt. So Nick is waving by. So I guess Nick is leaving. I understand that he's been here for about almost an hour. So thank you, Nick, as always. I appreciate you, man. I appreciate you, my friend. And I'm definitely calling you because I have a question for you. So Jalen, I'm gonna tap the brakes on a little bit. I still don't know what to make of Josh Simmons and what he's going to do. I think that's a wide question mark. I don't think it would be the worst thing in the world if he did not start this season with the injury. I could see scenarios where he does start this season and plays a lot. It's just a huge wide range for him. Jeff Bosa, I could see playing quite a bit. I mean, at least, especially later in the season. Is he going to replace Drew Tranquill as a starter? I mean, Chiefs are loyal, and I get that. They really like Drew Tranquill. So maybe Bosa won't start, barring an injury, but I could certainly see him playing a lot as the season goes on. Ashton Gelati and Omar Norman Lott. I mean, once again, I think Gelati starts only if there's an injury to Karlaftis or Dana. Those are going to be your two starters, but he could play a lot. I mean, and I can see by the end of the season that he's playing just as much as those two guys or close to it. Omar Norman Lott, I still don't know who the starter is next to Chris Jones. It could certainly be Norman Lott. So he might be in a position to be the best, bet as far as the earliest starter this season, because I can see him starting in week 1. Might be a rotational piece, so maybe they will have him coming off the bench. But I mean, that's probably that would probably be my best bet as far as who was to start the first. I would probably bet on Omar Norman Lott, and he might end up getting. It's hard to say. I mean, I could see him playing the most of the draft picks early on, but not playing a lot later. So I don't know. We will see. So I think Casey Harold, were you talking about when you say was Andy UDFA? You're talking about Andy Reid or a different Andy? I don't think that Andy Reid, I don't think he ever signed with an NFL team. I mean, he wasn't drafted. I know that. I don't think he ever went to I don't think he went to a tryout camp or anything of that nature. Even I think he just went straight into coaching. So I don't know that for sure. If it's a different Andy, let me know real quick here. Gonna wrap up because I think Andy Studebaker. Good question. I can look that up real quick. Not that just because I'm here and I'm kind of trying to remember. I feel like he was drafted, but I don't remember what round. So 6th round. He was and drafted by Philadelphia. So when did he come over to the Chiefs? Let me look at his transaction so I can see if they would have waived him on the cut down, and they signed it to the practice squad. They released him from the practice squad November 19th. Well, it says they released him. Maybe the Chiefs signed him off the Eagles practice squad, but November 19th was when the Chiefs signed him. I mean, this transaction makes it look because it was the same day. So that makes me think that this Chiefs signed him off the Eagles practice squad as a rookie. So there you go. That's how Andy Studebaker ended up in Kansas City. So thank you, everyone. Long show tonight. I wore out Nick's, I'm sorry to say. We will see you all Sunday for the next episode of 41 is the Mic, and then be back next Tuesday as usual with another Q&A. Appreciate all the questions tonight. Hope everybody had a good night. Take care. And if you've got any questions between now and 41 is the Mic and the show the live Q&A next Tuesday, feel free to fire them on social media. You can find us both on Twitter. You can find us on Blue Sky, and obviously make the comments on the YouTube page. One of us will eventually answer it. Pretty good chance it'll be Nick first because he does a better job sometimes than I do. I need to do a better job on my own channel. And you know what? I'm going to answer some questions tonight on there. So if you got anything that you didn't get asked here, you can always fire away in the comment section on YouTube, and you'll get an answer eventually. So everybody have a great week. We will talk to you later. Have a good one.